first pick.
All right, welcome to day 2 of the live stream for the draft of the 2026 season. We're a little bit behind schedule this morning. I say that as the draft has just started, but joined today by Jason, 64 Analytics right here. Jason, welcome to the show, man.
Glad to be here, man. Excited to be a part of this process. Really love the draft. As I've talked with a few people, we've actually started this because of the draft. So really excited to see what happens. Looks like the Angels, White Sox, Braves have a ton of money to shovel out here today. So let's see if they actually take advantage of that. Yeah, excited to see what this looks like. It looks like, I don't know if I think I'm live on the MLB.com. I don't see it like going yet. Do you see? I see picks. But I don't see anything on the live yet. I don't know if you're seeing the same thing.
Yeah, it looks like, so I brought up the draft tracker, and we got Tyler Putnam as the first pick of the day for the Colorado Rockies at 136, and that's a pretty big get for Colorado. That's a big arm, up to 100, had like very, very lanky, very, very good. So, I'm excited to see what the Rockies can do. They've kind of prioritized these higher velo guys throughout the past couple of years. So Putnam kind of fits that. And now it's the White Sox that we think are going to do some big fish hunting here at 137. They got a ton of money to move around.
Right, so we have a model that kind of puts in expected value. You hate it for Tennessee because it looks like this guy's probably going to go between 1 to 1.2 million based upon kind of projections of players around him. So they always talk about like how much money can you save in those first few rounds. They're going to spend a lot on this one because Putnam's generally in that like 1 to 150 range. Where did you guys have him on y'all's board?
He was kind of closer to 200, if I remember correctly.
Was he closer to 200 for y'all?
Yeah, let me just double check to make sure on that. This is where I wish I had my board pulled up at the same time. So Putnam, he was at 184. So that definitely makes sense. This is a hard throwing righty, very projectable. I remember my boss at work actually met him at a Mizzou game this past fall and started talking to him. He brought him up at work, and I was like, yeah, he's going to get drafted. He throws 100.
Oh yeah, for sure. I know Joe thinks a lot of him. I think he had him near 100. I think ESPN had him like the 110 range. So he may be in that kind of range you're expecting. But another guy that just went, Cal Scolari. So big time portal get out of the WCC to Oregon last year. He didn't have a phenomenal cape between going to Oregon. People weren't really sure what he was going to do. Really kind of put together a fantastic season for them. So you're really excited to see that. And man, these things are really flying. One of the things that they talked about yesterday on MLB.com is they said that Drew Burress had the highest weighted run above average of any player in D1 last year, which is correct. Number 2 is Daniel Cuvée, who actually just went to the Washington Nationals at 138. So you're talking about a guy with just absurd production in his time in Miami. I know it didn't finish the way he wanted to with injuries, but I don't know if you've got any more on him, Tyler.
Yeah, he changed a lot this year, really. Like, even before the stress reaction in his back, he cut the chase rate in half, basically. Like, he was chasing at 40% last year. I think it was closer to like 26 or 28% this year. And the bat, the ball got better. He actually began to evolve as a hitter. So I like this a lot for the Nationals. I think he could have been a legitimate day one selection. And even after the Nationals, Steele Murdoch at 139 to the Twins is fascinating because he's a guy that – he's a big kid, like 6'2", 210, but also there's relief risk there. But he also struck out 17 against Jackson Flora back in I think it was early April. And that was what put him on the map, in my opinion, was the ability to have a 1-2 dynamic like he has with the fastball and slider to really be deadly. And I think you let him start, but as of right now, I think he's more of a relief type with the command woes and everything. But he's a really, really solid arm from the WCC, or the Big West rather. Sorry.
And speaking of a solid arm who just went number 140, you got Ryan Marone from your NC State Wolfpack, and I know it's a little bittersweet to see him going because he didn't have the opportunity to have the last season that he wanted to have. But since you're the resident Wolfpack, I'm sure you've got a lot of info on him.
Yeah, the 3-year starter essentially for the Wolfpack, 20th round pick by the Guardians in 23. You mentioned it, like, yeah, he didn't have the greatest year. There was a couple hiccups along the way. I think the biggest one was obviously having an arm issue that kept him out for the end of the year. And he was going to throw in super regionals or regional play, I think. So, not having him kind of hurt the Wolfpack a lot. It was one of the biggest injuries they had. But, been up to 94, 95, good fastball, good command. Also, at the same time, has a good changeup and has feel for a bigger curveball and a slider. So it's a 4-pitch mix. I'd say you let him start, but also at the same token, like, if the command doesn't take another step forward like we want it to see, maybe he's a reliever. We'll see. But, still a pretty solid game. I like the fit for Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh knows how to get their arms. They got the Caro yesterday, which was fascinating. If anybody's going to fix the Caro, I feel like it's the Pirates.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And you just mentioned a national championship runner-up, and one of the national champions just went with Jackson Willits, who really, shined on the bright stages in that national championship game. What a piece for Oklahoma. He'll be going to the Angels. Any thoughts on Jackson?
That's such an Angels pick, admittedly. Like, that just fits.
How quick is he going to make it? How quick is he going to make it?
He is the Zach Neto replacement in a couple months. Don't worry.
Yeah.
The biggest thing with Willis, obviously, you mentioned it, like super, super hot down the stretch. He was a big catalyst in that lineup for the Sooners to not only make it to Omaha, but to win the national title. And obviously, Eli Willis' little brother. So we've got back-to-back days where brothers are drafted, and they're not the same organization, obviously, but like having Jackson in the minor leagues for the Angels is pretty cool. And maybe one day we'll see like a Jackson Willis, Eli Willits face off in DC or LA. I think that'd be pretty awesome.
Put you on the spot. Who do you think makes it up faster? So I know obviously Eli is a lot younger, but I mean, sorry to Jackson, but Eli just appears to be the better prospect. Do you think just because of his age that maybe Jackson makes it, or do you see Eli kind of on a fast trajectory?
Depends on how the Nationals treat it. I feel like Eli is definitely proven to be worth every single cent of that contract he got last year from the Nationals at 1-1. Like, obviously people questioned it at the time, but now what is he? He's got 12 home runs. He's hitting like 290, has like 38 steals. He's looked every bit of a 1-1 guy. So I think depending on how the Nationals pull it, I could see Eli being first, but it's the Angels. There's a non-zero chance actions up there in September.
And our first JUCO player of the draft goes at pick 142. You've got Jimmy Anderson. I'm loving that Jimmy had an easier name for me. We're going to try not to pull Manfred and just completely botch names today. Jimmy had an easier name. You feel bad for Kentucky. I'm sure they kind of got past day one and they're like, okay, maybe can we get this guy to camp? I mean, I think a lot of people didn't really have him in this space. So this feels pretty high up. We had him in kind of like the 450, 500 range. I don't know if you guys even had him on your board.
He wasn't on the 313, admittedly, but he was on the board in some capacity. Like, I had a feeling I put some JUCO guys in there because I had a feeling like there's some JUCO guys that are worth it. Jimmy Anderson was drafted a year ago, if I remember correctly. Opted not to sign, went back to Heartland, committed to Kentucky. Pretty good hit tool, pretty good defender as well. So I think he's definitely deserving of a selection here. Just, it's tough with some of these JUCO guys because you don't get a lot of info on these guys coming into the year, and it's just tough. But he's a very, very solid bat. He's been looked at for years, so this is a pretty solid get.
He's a younger post high school pickup. He's under 21, so he's 20.9. So he's not even 21 yet, which is again one of the oddities of JUCO. You can go after that first or second year, and maybe the 7,000th Yellow Jacket to be taken, number 143, Alex Hernandez, going to the Athletics. I don't have a ton on Alex, to be perfectly frank. What do you have? I know you're our ACC savant. What are your thoughts?
Oh no, that's Monty's job. Monty is the savant here, but like Hernandez is solid, like pretty good arm strength. The swing's super long, and that's really what a lot of people were worried about was like the hit tool and the fact that the arm, or not the arm, but the bat was pretty long and was going to have swing and miss with it. But he can go backside pretty easy with power. I think his power over hit. Place him at second base or right field, I think he's a solid guy. But it kind of fits like what the A's have been looking for this year. And I think the A's have done a fantastic job of how they've drafted. Getting Drew Burris at 8 was such a, I don't want to say a good value get, but it just made so much sense from a fit standpoint. Like, they've been looking at these bigger college names that performed, and they've just taken them and run with it. Like Nick Kurtz, for example, that's the biggest one. You also look at what Jamie Arnold did a year ago. He's actually going to be pitching at the Futures game today. So A's have been drafting really, really solidly the past couple of years. This just fits perfectly. And we also got Will Libbert from Mississippi to the Braves, which that's a Braves pick. And admittedly, that's going after high upside with.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it, high upside, because I mean, you look at his last year, sub 50 innings pitched, didn't have a good whip. His FIP wasn't really phenomenal. People were barreling him. He's been at two schools. He came from Missouri, transferred to Ole Miss. He's got 100, innings over his couple of years with 100 Ks on the mound. So I mean, there's, as you said, there's upside, but I think this may be a value pick, like trying to maybe save money. I mean, I don't want to like speak too poorly on a player, but at the end of the day, it's just kind of like it's a numbers thing. You're at a 500K slot value. Can you maybe get this guy for like 350, 400 and see if you can save 150K and put it to somebody else?
Yeah, I like that thought too. And then like we had Libbert, he was like a late addition to our board as well, but also the stuff's interesting. The command's always been a bit of an issue, and obviously getting lit up a little bit in both years in the SEC. But I would say he's been up to 98, kind of worked on the fastball this year. Also has a really intriguing splitter. He can really, really low spin, and that was really interesting to kind of watch and see how he can develop that. Speaking of another couple of guys here, Owen Kramkowski.
Yeah.
Kramkowski to the Rays, that feels like a connection. Obviously, Mason Nichols a couple years ago turned into something good for the Rays. Cal Randall going to the Cardinals. The Cardinals are just continuing to get really, really good value here.
Yeah. And I know Arizona didn't have the year they wanted to. And I mean, frankly, it comes down a lot to Kramkowski. Just really, he was able to throw 70 innings, I believe, this year. And I know like they had some issues and it just wasn't really the year that, but he still had, I think he was 98th percentile K per walk in the country. So I mean, he had a phenomenal career. You talk about 165 innings over the last 3 years. So really pumped for him going 145, and then yet another Bruin with Cal Randall 146 to the Cardinals.
Yeah, and Randall might have the best fastball in the entire class. Like, admittedly, it's such an outlier in terms of just it's 95, 98, maybe 99. He's probably touched 100 at one point, but to get fastball quality like that with super flat VAA, really good extension, it's just going to be demonic for some of these guys to really catch up on. If they can really refine the secondaries, which I think the Cardinals can do, he's probably going to be a guy that's in the bullpen in like a year or two. So we'll see what happens.
And talk about a run on college pitchers. You get one of the biggest portal pickups of the year last year for Florida State, Trey Beard, going 147 to the Marlins. This was a guy that I know when they saw Wes Mendez and Beard and they thought, okay, we'll have our 1-2 punch. It didn't really like start off the way they wanted to because he wasn't fully healthy. But once it really started going, he was able to kind of put together that what they expected of him. So really excited for him to go here in this location. He'll make a chunk of change and he'll be in the pros. I'm sure. I think this is one of the guys that I think could be in the pros pretty quickly, frankly.
Yeah, I think you can definitely make some adjustments to the pitch arsenal itself to kind of like get some more value out of it. Obviously, not going to throw super hard, but the angle that comes out of the release height, everything's super funky. He has such a great changeup too. Also, not to forget that he tried to hit me in the face with 92 against Wake Forest, so that was fun. Another national champion off the board too. LG McCurry is going to Arizona. That's a really good pickup for them. Another guy with a really, really funky changeup, has some more velo this year, which is fascinating. He was up to 96, 97. And he was out of the bullpen late in the year too for the Sooners, like really, really big bullpen stalwart for them. Yeah.
So at the beginning of the year in Arlington, he was fantastic. He looked unhittable, him and Cam Johnson. And then they had a lot of issues about halfway, almost basically after the Texas A&M series. They threw him into the bullpen after the Arkansas series, and frankly, it just rejuvenated him. And I don't think he gets drafted in this spot if they don't send him to the bullpen, ironically. Generally, you kind of feel it's the inverse. If a guy goes to the bullpen, it's like, okay, you don't have maybe the starter makeup. We'll try to like draft you a little bit. I don't think he goes this high if he doesn't go to the bullpen, because when he was starting pitching, he was walking the farm. And once he went to the bullpen, he kind of got back to that fastball changeup combo. He has one of the best changeups in the country. It's a hard changeup, but it's also a wiffle ball changeup. That thing moves. I really like this pick. And what is that? Four or five college pitchers in a row. So
Yeah.
I'll run on them early.
And we kind of end the slide here. Actually, two-way guy. So the Rangers are drafting Michael Anderson from Penn State as a two-way player, which makes sense. He made our board late, but obviously as a bat, like a first round, or not a first round guy, but like a first baseman with really, really big power from the right side with some hit tool, improvements this year, but also has been on the mound as well. And it was up to 99 when he was at Rhode Island, went to Arkansas, didn't really get much playing time, went back to Penn State in the Northeast, and has found a fifth round pick here. But being drafted as a two-way is interesting because he didn't really pitch this year. So I'm interested to see how the Rangers deploy him here.
Yeah, he didn't play at Arkansas because he got hurt in the fall, which was unfortunate. They had such a deep roster. I mean, I think they had like 7, 8 first-round picks on that roster. So once he got hurt and they just kind of had more players than they anticipated, he just found himself in that kind of funky, like, where do I fit? And I don't think, he really played much. So Jared will be excited to see this pick, one-time Rhode Islander. So Rhode Island, Arkansas to Penn State. So excited to see his journey ending going to the pros. But yeah, I agree. Two-way player, because he definitely wasn't going to pitch at Arkansas. I had heard he was thinking about pitching at Penn State, but I thought that he had – he was a 1,200 OPS guy at Penn State. So you're definitely liking the hit tool, but I assume that they must have liked something that they saw in their workouts to put him as a two-way player.
Absolutely.
Luke Nixon, another Wolfpack. You've got this. Take it away.
Obviously, Son of Trot Nixon, NC State legend, if I remember correctly, Red Sox legend too. And then also, thinking of, like, you look at what Chase was a couple of years ago. He's moved on. I think he went to Memphis this past year, but Luke stayed. And Luke's a speedy infielder. I would say pretty good defender at second base. I think he's going to stick there. But the biggest thing that stood out to me this year was the ability to pull the ball in the air like he could. It's not, super loud power, but his ability to be able to pull it regularly and find ways over the fence. Like Doak Field is admittedly, it's a short porch to that direction. Yeah. So I'll give credit where credit is due on that one for Luke, but he does have some sneaky power in there. Pretty solid left-handed swing as well. So I like this for the Giants. I think the Giants have also done a pretty solid job with their drafts this year.
Nice. And now another pitcher. This one kind of in the same realm of LJ McCreas, Ethan McIlvain from the Razorbacks. So I remember when he went in the portal last year, we had him as the top overall relief pitcher. Vanderbilt really tried to start him last year, and it just didn't go well. He was walking just way too many people. They put him in the pen. I think he got a little frustrated. He went to Arkansas, tried to see if he could start. He was still struggling a little bit at the beginning of the year. He really didn't have a great footing at the beginning of the year, but pretty much after about the first 2-3 weekends, it was pretty evident that he was the best arm in the back end of that bullpen, and he just became effectively that go-to Friday or Saturday night guy to try to get them 1 to 2 innings to win pretty much their biggest game every weekend. So electric fastball. It's one of those kind of stay on plane, almost look like a little bit of a rise ball fastball. He gets a lot of swing and miss off of it. I really like this pick. I'm intrigued to see what pros think of him, if they see him as a starter or a relief pitcher, because I think he has starter build in him, but he's been a primary reliever his past 2 years.
Yeah, I think there's a chance we could start. I've mentioned it in the blurb that I wrote about him this year on the board, where there's enough of a command gain that he made to where you kind of like to trot him out as a starter. I think he's got the pitch mix for it too. Obviously, as a high schooler, he was viewed as such as well. So we'll see what happens, but the changes he made this year were pretty impressive, going from a guy at Vandy who struggled to find the strike zone to, the same role at Arkansas, but he really turned into a different arm this year, which is fascinating.
Absolutely. And another SEC pitcher off the board, Luke McNeely, number 152 to the New York Mets. This was one of my favorite relief pitchers in the country. Florida was such an anomaly for me because their pitching was so fantastic, and it felt like they had just enough hitting. It's like, can they make it? You're talking about a guy with 96, 99 mile per hour fastball, high spin, upper 80 slider, just like elite pitcher, elite makeup. It just never really, he didn't do enough, or maybe they had Sandifer and they had all these guys that kind of were just a step above him because he couldn't really ever crack that starting rotation. So I really like this pickup, but another bullpen player out of the SEC going 152 with Luke McNeely. Anything for you on him?
Yeah, you kind of nailed it perfectly. I remember last year he threw more sliders than fastballs, which was interesting. Came out in the fall and was throwing absolute nitrous oxide. So he's interesting, very, very lanky. I think there's another chance where you let him start, but we'll see what happens. I think the Royals, or sorry, the Mets, sorry. He kind of fits the Mets MO where they kind of look for these hard throwing guys with interesting release traits as well. So this is definitely a Mets pick for me.
Sorry about that. I hit the back button on my mouse.
I was wondering why it was so silent.
Me, I hit the back button on my mouse. I was trying to go to the comments to add into something that Spencer said, and as soon as I did, my thumb accidentally grazed the back button, which gave us time. Did you talk about Gavin Eady yet, or where are we at in this round?
We were just talking about McNeely, but yeah, Gavin Eady's interesting. I wish I had seen him at Cal this year. You know, 2 really good breaking balls. I think he's a guy that just spams spin at the next level. He has a decent fastball, been up to 95, 96 this year. Good feel for a changeup, but this is a guy that really relied on spin this year. Took a huge jump forward. I think Cal's rotation was underrated this year for him and De La Torre to have the jumps that they made. I think they were the biggest workhorses in the ACC this year. So for Edie to be here is fantastic. That's a miss on me. I should have put him in the top 313, but you know, I was still kind of wondering what happens with his future. I thought he was a bullpen guy. Dylan Bowen, by the way, is the Reds pick at 154, and that is going to be a lot of money tied up with that kid. He's old for the class, but he is really, really good hit tool. I would say really twitchy defender at shortstop as well. That's a kid that is, you know, we had him in the top, either inside the top 100, he was just on the outside. He was one of our best remaining players going into today. And the Oklahoma State commit, you know, he kind of fits what they look for. Like, guy that can have some athleticism, has some power in there. I think he's really, really good. And then also Lucas Moore going to the Guardians, that just feels like the pick. We comped him the Stephen Kwan like a year ago, and now here he is. He's in the same system as Stephen Kwan.
Yeah, you know, Louisville's. I was talking about Florida. You know, how were they not just a little bit better than what? And I know Louisville had their issues, especially from the pitching side, but you can obviously see they had so much talent on that lineup that, you know, you would have hoped that maybe they could have done a little bit more. I honestly think Lucas could actually push for kind of above value here, which is pretty interesting because especially with the new 5 for 5, I think I almost feel like his ceiling is a little bit higher than this is right now. So something tells me that even though he's a 4-year junior, over 21, all those kinds of things, I could absolutely see him maybe asking for above slot value. I don't know what your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think one more like he tried to do too much in terms of getting the power this year. And I think that was the biggest thing that really hampered him, was like he went away from his style of play. Like, he is a leadoff guy. He's a spark plug, high on base percentage, is going to be a menace for pitchers and for society as well, probably. But, you know, it's I think he just tried too much to try and put the ball in the air this year. It kind of came back to bite him a little bit. He's still a fantastic defender in center. Really, really good runner. I think if he goes back to his roots, he'll be a very solid guy. And like I said, kind of fits that Stephen Kwan role a little bit. Yeah. And now going after him, Lucas Davenport from Baylor and James Guyette from Kansas State. Those are 2 really interesting relievers from
Big 12 pitchers.
Big 12, yeah.
Was Davenport a reliever? I thought he was there Friday. Was he not there Friday? Why am I going crazy?
Crazy. I'm saying like future relievers.
Future relievers. I was about to say I loved Davenport. I remember I was watching the West Virginia series, and I'm hoping I'm talking about the right pitcher. If I'm not, I feel like an idiot. But it really felt like West Virginia. I thought that they were going to go in and sweep it, and that first game, it just felt like he really held him down. I'd be surprised if it's not him. Apologies, sometimes I'm horrible with names, but I'm pretty sure this was their Friday night stud. And he had a phenomenal kind of like 12-6 looking breaker. I don't know if you have a lot on him, but watching him live was really nice to see.
Yeah, Davenport I considered for the board, and the main reason why, like you said, like he was able to lock down that starter role for Baylor. And he was impressive, big kid. I believe he was a fourth-year senior. I could be mistaken on that, but I remember
We
watching him
have
as a high schooler.
He
Yeah,
is
like
a fourth year senior, 22.3. Yep, he's an old
okay,
guy.
yeah. So this kind of fits their they're looking to save some money here. But Davenport's a solid kid. Been up to 97. The fastball's not going to miss a ton of bats, but he commands the zone well. I think the slider and the changeup are really advanced as well. Like he's got feel for secondaries. Baylor underrated pitching development, I feel like, over the
Oh
past year
yeah.
or so. They've gotten better. So they got to give a shout out to the Baylor Bears. And then Guyette is also like took the Friday night role at K State. He's interesting, super low release point. So he's got a lot of horizontal going on for both his pitches. I think the fastball's been up to 96. Heavy two seamer, has a sweeper, good feel for a changeup that kind of plays off the sinker well. And he was really like, as much as he got hit around, he was still dominant for the Wildcats in that role. If I remember correctly, he shut out or had a complete game against, I can't remember if it was Baylor or someone else, but it was someone late in the year where he had like 115 pitch complete game and just looked
He had a
dominant.
good K per
So
walk. He was a 92nd percentile for Sierra. So, I mean, to your point, he got barreled. He was only like the 50th percentile in OPS allowed. So, I mean, still 136 innings with 163 Ks over that span over the last 3 years. And all at Kansas State, kind of one of those oddities of a guy staying for, 3 years at the same school. So good for him. Another college pitcher off the board, Declan Dahl, one of the Bulldogs of La Tech. I don't know if you have anything on this. You guys thrashed La Tech back in that 2021 series, if I remember correctly, the Wolfpack.
yeah, we did. And I like Law Tech. They're an interesting,
Oh,
very
great
interesting
program.
school. Yeah, like
Yeah.
I have nothing but respect for those guys. So
Oh,
sorry to kind of to kind of shit on you guys a little bit. Sorry, but Dahl is really interesting. This is another low slot guy that has a lot of vertical release traits that guys are going to love in pro ball. Been up to 95, 96. He really started. He started well for the Bulldogs, and if I remember correctly, he was the first Bulldog to have 100 Ks in like 20 years. It's
oh wow.
really interesting when I went to go look at that. But changeup, I think, is going to be really, really good. Has feel for a breaking ball, but this is another guy that's like a fastball changeup, probably a reliever, but really funky metrics and looks really, really solid when you watch the film. After him, Dylan Blomker, who's a New Mexico kid, actually. New
Another high
Mexico,
schooler.
yeah, La Cueva High School. I saw him last year, kind of scattershot command when I saw him, but the delivery is pretty clean. I think the biggest issue was finding a consistent release point, which he never could. But he's been up to 96 with a good hammer breaking ball. Has feel for a changeup. He's 6'3", 200. I thought he was a little taller than that when I saw him last year. But this is definitely a Cubs pick. They're going after upside here as LSU commit, so I don't think he's getting to
Yeah.
campus when taking this high.
Nope. No, just as a reminder to people, 99.2% chance, top 10, last 5 years, you're signing. So there'll always be the ones. Like who was the UCLA pitcher last year who went in the second or third round who ended up making it to campus? Cervantes?
Cervantes, yeah.
Yeah. So you'll have the one-offs, but I would, as soon as you see them go, I would just kind of remove them from your memory. And if there's a Christmas present late in July, then you're feeling good about it. But yeah, he's gone. This is going to be another 750, 800K type signing bonus, maybe even a little bit higher.
Yep, absolutely. And like even after that, Bear Harrison, the Yankees, that's a really solid pickup. A big catcher. I'm talking like 6'4", 230, if I remember correctly. And this is a guy that improved the hit tool so much this year. Did such a great job with improving his defense. There's big power there. And even after that, Will Gasparino to the Phillies. That's
Finally.
I would say that's a good value get for them if they can get him to hit.
100%. So, I quick two blurbs on both of these guys. So, Bear Harrison, when he went in the portal a couple of years ago to A&M, it was a big argument of like who's going to start. Is it going to be Galloway? Is it going to be Harrison? Because Galloway was a big pickup for them at a USC. He ended up actually reportaling back to Oregon State last year. Harrison just kind of took it over. Even when they were struggling in that 25 season, where it really didn't seem like a lot was going well for A&M, like he was having a great season. So really projected a lot. Gasparino, one of the best outfielders from a defensive standpoint that you'll see. A 6'6", long, langy guy, just a lot of swing and miss. But if he gets hot, he gets hot. I mean, everyone saw him at the beginning of the year when it felt like he was hitting a home run every other plate appearance. So a lot of tools that you really like, but you also don't like the swing and miss on pretty much anything soft away. So I think he's got a real long swing. It produces a lot of power, but it also produces a lot of swing and miss. But there's a lot to like about the guy. He's been there, done that. He's been in the SEC, the Big Ten. So happy for him to be going. And then another SEC player off the board, Hayden Yost, 162 from Florida to the Mariners. Any thoughts on this?
Yeah, Jordan's little, or sorry, not little brother. This is his older brother from a year ago. If you remember, Jordan Yost was the Tigers' first round pick a year ago. This is his brother from Florida. He definitely kind of came on late in the year. I feel like I don't know too much about him. Admittedly, I gotta look at the stats here whenever it comes up. But he did perform pretty well for the Gators this year. I would have expected him to go a little bit farther than this. Admittedly, I wasn't expecting a 5th round pick out of him, but a good hit tool, has some speed to him. He can definitely play in the grass. So this is an interesting pick for them. And also, like, looking at the Mariners going after his college bats now, like, they hadn't selected a college bat in the first round since Evan White before taking Ace Reese yesterday. So this is kind of like a little, approach change when it comes to the draft from Scott Hunter and company. So this is interesting, but I kind of like it.
Yeah, I like it too. Again, like you gotta like a hitter from Sully because he just seems to produce pro after pro. A guy that I would, if you would have told me he went 163 2 years ago, I would have thought you were crazy. Aiden Canuck out of Clemson. We talked about LJ Mercurius with a phenomenal changeup. This is maybe the best changeup in college last year. His kind of continual, when is he gonna like flip that switch and become the freshman Canuck again? Like that always just kind of blew my mind a little bit, but he's still, I think the ceiling is incredibly high with him. So mid 90s fastball again. What do you say? Like 92, 94 fastball, if I were to say, but the best changeup, in my opinion. So I like this pick a lot. The Milwaukee will be loving this one. So I'm sure Will Massa is doing jumping jacks somewhere. But again, this is one for me that if you would have told me he went 163 after his freshman year, I would have said, like, you're on drugs.
Yeah, no, this year was definitely tough, and I felt like he didn't quite have the same command of his fastball or secondaries. The changeup kind of left it up in the zone a little bit more, but it's still a Bugs Bunny changeup. Fastball velo came up this year. He had more swing and miss on it as well. The biggest issue is not really having that breaking ball. Like, he has this like gyro breaking ball in like the low 80s, but it just didn't really do much for him this year. But going to Milwaukee, that's like, hey, we're looking at this and going, we can fix this kid, and if they can, then that's perfect. Like, this is a incredible fit for not only having him to find the next level to his game, but I think it's a great pairing of player and team.
Agreed. And I agree 100% with Spencer and you that saying he's going to thrive in the Brewer system. Like he feels like a Brewer already. I mean, you talk about one of the best changeups, and who knows how to make a changeup even more crazy than the Brewers. So if they can produce another, almost screwball-esque changeup, there may be not another better organization than the Brewers. 164, Nolan Higgins out of Michigan State, going to the Blue Jays. I don't have a lot on Nolan. Do you have anything to pump for him?
Not a ton, but this is a former Orchard Lake St. Mary's kid. If you remember, that high school team a couple years ago was one of the best in the country when I believe Brian Sikowski, who is now the recruiter over at Virginia, was there. He's interesting. He's a hard-throwing reliever. Been up to 97, 98 this year. His fastball average 94, but a 26% swing and miss rate. It was a really, really solid fastball. Got hit around quite a bit. He just threw too many strikes, I feel like, and the command was just over the zone too much. But solid breaking ball to go with it as well. This is a guy that's going to be relief only, but he did a really really good job with coming in and kind of limiting damage. Obviously you're going to look at the 5.2 ERA, but 4 saves, 62 Ks in 45 innings, only walked 13 this year. It's a solid arm. The arm talent is pretty special here, so this is a good get for the Blue Jays.
And unfortunately for Alabama, I think another one of their portal commitments just came off the board. And Garrett Lambert, who is from Mercer, had a phenomenal year at Mercer. I guess just not not good enough to make the tournament, Tyler. Even though they have 5 of the top 100 portal players, they're going to have multiple draft picks, but I guess they just weren't good enough. They had to let your Wolfpack in. So I talked highly on your Wolfpack. Now I have to bring them down a little bit.
Don't worry. I also
so,
had the same thing of like, I don't think they should have been in over Mercer, but sorry.
So this guy was absolutely phenomenal this year. He was about 370. So this is pretty high. But the fact that, again, Spencer just said, assuming Lambert won't be making, no. If he's getting drafted here, that means, again, his agent, everyone has already figured out the number. They've said the number, and they're going to be getting it. So he's pretty old, too. He's 21-7. He's almost on the other side of 21, getting up there to 22. So if he's looking for that payday, I'm sure all these guys go in there with a number. So if their school number doesn't match their pro number, or maybe if it's within some sort of range that they're happy with, they're definitely going to be signing, and the Rockies wouldn't be taking him now if he didn't already give him the green light.
Yeah, for sure. And like that Mercer team was just so good this year. They had a lot of pieces on both sides of the ball. It sucks to see it kind of now gutted after not making the tournament. So, Lambert definitely would have been a great get for Rob Vaughn and co. Coming off an Omaha appearance, but I think the Rockies are going to do just fine with that. Big fish hunting, by the way. Alex Weingartner to the White Sox in the 6th round. He was a top 100 talent for us. And, the White Sox make that trade for pick 34 to add another $3 million to their bonus pool. They have as much as $21.5 million to use with overage pay. So the White Sox are taking a big gamble here. This is a kid that's really, really toolsed up. He's thrown 100 miles an hour from the outfield. He has big power. He's really grown as a prospect. He's Ryan's brother from a year ago, the Penn State shortstop who went to St. Louis. So this is, again, another mix of brothers going in the draft. But Alex, I think the better of the two, and the fact that, he gets this far is going to be a massive payday from the White Sox.
Yeah, absolutely. You feel for Penn State because they just lost Anderson. Now they're just losing. He's got to be going. The question is it going to be a 2.5x signing bonus? It's going to be up there. He's in the 400K slot, but I'd be very surprised if it's anything under 800. Cooper Allen, number 167 to the Nationals. UNC Wilmington pitcher. I mean, this guy pretty much had some of the best numbers in the country: 97th percentile whip, 96th percentile K per walk, 96th percentile Sierra, 87 innings pitched. I mean, you're talking about a guy who pretty much did anything and everything for Wilmington this year. Pitched there for 133 career innings, 148 Ks on the mound. Guy from Wake Forest, so the Demon Deacons are a little sad to see someone with that much success, but they've had so much success on the pitching that maybe they just didn't have the space for him. But he's really thrived at UNC Wilmington. Go and pick 167. Thoughts on him, Tyler?
He was really solid when I saw him against Campbell, where he went. I think it was like 6 1/3. It was really well. He came from Wake Forest High School, by the way, not the university, but
I saw the location, Wake Forest, North Carolina.
Yeah. To be fair, the high school is right next to the old campus. So
it's the city, isn't it? Wake Forest isn't the name of the city? Okay.
Yes,
okay,
it is. Yeah. So you're on the same path. It's a confusing thing if you don't live in North Carolina. Trust me, it's something that happens a lot. But Cooper Allen was very solid when I saw him. He went six innings, 3 earned when I saw him at Campbell, and he was up to 92, 93 with a solid fastball. He was cutter dominant this year. That cutter is really, really good. It's kind of like a gyro ball with firm IVB. So this is a very solid get for them. He definitely wasn't the first UNCW arm or player I had coming off the board. It was Marshburn, actually, that I thought was going to be the highest of the guys. But him, Trevor Lucas was going to be a guy that had a lot of helium kind of going in late to the draft. He's a very solid glove with good hit tool. So UNCW had some really really good arms and bats this year. So I'm excited to see what happens with like Marshburn and everybody. Going past Cooper Allen here, Ethan Lay and Tyler Fay. Lay goes to the Twins. Tyler Fay going to the Pirates. That's another really really good fit for the Pirates.
Yeah, yeah. I'll let you talk. I'll give you a second to look up Ethan Lay. I'll jump on Tyler since I know him top of mind. So you're talking about a guy who threw not a perfect game, a no hitter versus Florida early in the year. He was phenomenal Friday night starter for Alabama on the year. Didn't really have the finish that he wanted in Omaha. I mean, all of Alabama didn't really have the finish that they wanted in Omaha. But he's a big righty. He's got a lot. He's more pitchability than I would say stuff. Like he's got good stuff, but he's also just a really good pitcher. I'll be intrigued to see what he looks like moving. I almost feel like he's more of a starter than a reliever because I don't know if he has kind of like that pure stuff to be like a 1 inning, 98 plus with crazy movement type of reliever that it feels like the pros are just like latched onto right now. So he feels more like a 93 to 95 fastball kind of. Hey, get me 4 to 5 innings as a starter. So I like him a lot. He did a lot of really good things at Alabama. Again, you're talking about a guy 99th percentile K per walk, 93rd percentile for Sierra. So done a ton of great things. So excited for him.
Yeah, and he changed a lot from what he was a year ago because he had draft hype a year ago, but didn't get signed. Came out this year, was throwing harder, throwing more strikes. I think the breaking ball improved as well, so everything kind of worked out in his favor. In terms of Ethan Lay, by the way, going for Sacramento State, he was the guy. If I remember correctly, he pitched well against. Or sorry, he did not pitch well against LSU. My bad. I was thinking of someone else. But struck out 93 guys in 88 innings, only walked 16. So the command's been there. He is a senior sign. He's more of a spin master. So the curveball is really, really good. 42% whiff rate this year. Threw a healthy amount of strikes. I would say the fastball is just kind of there. He averaged 91.4, but you're definitely taking the ability to spin the breaking ball here. And I think that's exactly what the Twins are going for, in my opinion.
Shout out to Sac State because I know Vahivo went through Arkansas last year, but he came from Sac State as a true freshman. So they're really doing a lot of great things there in that program. And we are now in the run on college pitchers. It has been absolutely insane here the last 15. So we've had 2 go while we've been talking to another SEC. Justin Bird from Georgia goes to the Angels, and Zane Adams goes 171 to the Orioles. You see 2 tied go, I guess, in a span of 3 picks. And we'll get to your Sosa here in just a second. He just got picked as well. But Zane Adams is another guy that, I mean, they had that Upchurch was their Sunday guy. So they had their true freshman Sunday, but then they have the Star Wars of Zane Adams and Faye on Friday and Saturday. So it's impressive to see the amount of arm talent that Alabama had. And that's really why they were the seventh national seed, because of their pitching. Their hitting was never very good this year. Let's just be blunt. It was because of their pitching. Their pitching was phenomenal, and Zane Adams was really a part of that. Justin Bird, he was kind of in that who is going to be our 4th or 5th pitcher. I think it was always Justin Bird for Georgia. They always felt like they were going to go back and forth between him and maybe a few other guys, but when he was able to come in and just throw that power slider, like it was just really impressive. Georgia, when they succeeded, he was succeeding. It was always kind of like, okay, we're going to go Voltzko Bird. Like ultimately, like how are we going to get to Bird? How are we going to get to that back end, that elite kind of like setup guy or finisher? And that was always Bird for Georgia.
Yeah, and for Bird too, like 28% fastball whiff. He was throwing strikes at a near 70%, clip this year. So I think there's a way where you can put him as a starter at the next level. There just wasn't room for him in that Georgia rotation this year. He's super athletic, throws a ton of strikes. I think this is a guy that's going to have a starting, attempt to be a starter with the Angels. So I like that pick. And then Zane Adams has been a kid that's been around for a long time. Super smart kid. I remember this kid when he was in high school, and he had like a 4 or 5 GPA. It was ridiculous, but he's definitely improved this year. I think the fastball got better. He wasn't as injured as he was a year ago, so having that kind of really helps out. And Alex Sosa, got to feel good for him, even though he's no longer a part of the Wolfpack. But he very good power. I think he's more of a first base type moving forward. He's not as mobile as he was as a freshman at NC State, but you're buying the power here. It's a left-handed bat with good pop, and there's some feel for a hit tool there as well. So this is a very solid get for the A's. Kind of fits their like college performer route that they like to go to. And then Tyson Grokowski from Wisconsin, another Wisconsin kid. This is a big hit for South Florida. 6'5", 225, but he pitches from like a low slot again, which is interesting for him, but he can really spin the baseball. His sweeper's been up to 83 with like 3,000 RPMs of spin. It's a heavy two-seamer. Kind of let to see if he can start at the next level, but the Braves know how to maximize value out of arms. So this is definitely a very Braves pick. And now we got Kyle Johnson to the Rays as a pitcher.
Yeah, we were talking about the two-way player with Anderson, and I was wondering, when Kyle Johnson goes, are they going to label him a two-way player? They only labeled him a pitcher, which is pretty unique because you're talking about a guy who is, primarily bounced back and forth. Last year, he really struggled as that starting spot. This year, he got a lot better. So I'm really happy for him. He had such a phenomenal freshman year, almost like a very similar path as Canuck, where if you would have told me after his freshman year he would be going 174, I've been like, oh, you're crazy. So really excited for him, but also just, surprised to see him going this spot because, his primary position last year was effectively DH or right field. So interesting to see him as a pitcher only.
Yeah, it got better this year as a pitcher too. I remember as a freshman, he was like more 90, 93, but can run it up to 6. This year, he was more into the mid-90s, and it was impressive. Has a good changeup. Good feel for a breaking ball. I'd like to see how it kind of works out, but he definitely impressive with a bat too. So I wonder if they kind of take a Brendan McKay approach where like if the pitching doesn't work, okay, here's a bat, have fun. Where McKay was like he couldn't really hit, but like here's the glove, like go ahead and put 95 wherever you want and just have fun.
Oh, absolutely. Interesting here. So is this our first D2 or D3 player? So if you're reading it, that's not a typo. That's not supposed to be Seton Hall. That is Seton Hill. So we've got Owen Henney of Seton Hill. I think that's D2. Or is that D2 or D3? Am I going crazy on that?
It's definitely not D1. I can tell you that for free.
No, I know it isn't. Give me 1 second. I'll pull it up. I've got all of the data here, but for some reason I couldn't get if they was a D2 or D3. But honestly, love to see a 21-year-old shortstop, 960 OPS last year. So from Wexford, PA, he only hit 12 home runs. So this is a guy that, I don't know, maybe you could say is kind of out of a little bit of nowhere. He was on any boards, so I'm sure right now you've probably got them on the stage going, if you know anything about Owen, give us a shout. So again, he's played 143 games over the last 3 years. Best season was, last year we had a 1060 OPS. Can steal some bags. He has 41 career steals. But again, like you're talking about a guy that probably you're going to have projectability in it because he just hasn't seen kind of the live arms that you'd hope to see coming from that D2, D3 space.
Yeah, and I'll give credit here to what the draft league's been able to do, get guys some run here. He's played at the draft league for the West Virginia Black Bears and has done really, really well. Very good hit tool. Doesn't chase, has some sneaky power down the right field line, which I think is more oppo for him, but super lanky, super projectable. Just watching some film here. So Owen Henney, I would say this is, again, like their D2 school. So this is definitely the first D2 guy off the board. And even going past that, like Cole Selvig for Minnesota, that's a Miami pick if I've ever seen one. But this is a guy that spins one hell of a breaking ball. If I remember correctly, he did well against UCLA towards the end of the year, where he just diced up that entire lineup.
Yeah, he had a good weekend versus UCLA. He had a good weekend versus UNLV when he went 5 with 7 Ks. Old Texas, he's a Texas to Minnesota transfer. So he's pitched 119 on the year, 103 Ks. You like the K per walk, but I would still say that this one, it's a little bit of a stretch, not a ton of stretch, but it maybe not on some of the boards would probably be the best way. I would say he's probably on the edge of some of the boards, but you're happy for him. You're really excited to see, and it's a real testament to the players that, hey, if things don't work out when you go to one program, the grass can be greener in another, and he did really well for the Gophers last year. And
Yeah,
there
absolutely.
is another portal player off the board. Do you have anything on Micah, or I can jump on it if you'd like for me to?
Micah was on the board late for us. I can tell you that. Stony Brook
Yeah.
had a really, really good year. He's a Midwest kid. He's going to be 23 years old here in a couple of months, but the talent's been undeniable. He's been up to 98 with really good arm speed. He kind of sat more in the low 90s, kind of the end of the year. So he's more of a reliever. He doesn't have, really, really good stamina, but the biggest things were the bullet slider stood out this year off the angle he created. Really, really good extension numbers, low release height. If I remember correctly, both his slider and his curveball had whiff rates north of 45%, but doesn't have a changeup. So this is another guy that's like has a chance to be a really quick moving reliever. So we'll see what happens. But he definitely had a lot of steam coming into the combine and even after that. So this makes a ton of sense for Arizona.
We had a lot of coaches basically saying, "I need an arm. I need an arm." Like Worley's still available, and I always just got crickets after that. So every time I heard, I was like, "Okay, this guy's gonna get drafted pretty highly." Because some of these guys, when they go in like a fluky, they kind of go in for leverage. This kind of felt like an individual who kind of always had draft on his mind. We recently mentioned UNLV. Now we'll go for another Nevada player. So a different Nevada player, but still in the state of Nevada. Aiden Brainerd going 178 to the Rangers from the University of Nevada. Anything on Aiden for you, sir?
Not in particular. This is definitely one I don't know off the top of my head, so I gotta
Okay.
kind of like
No,
look at it
I
here.
can. Yeah. So this guy, 115 career innings pitched, 125 Ks on the mound. Really didn't have a phenomenal year last year. It was 27th percentile OPS allowed. His whip was 36th percentile. So if you kind of look at the numbers, you're going, okay, I'm not really sure. But then you look and you see 125 Ks over 115 career innings. So he can strike guys out. But the question will always be like, can you throw it over the plate? And can you throw it over the plate consistently enough to where you don't have to throw cookies? Because if you get in too many 2-1, 3-1 counts, you're going to have to throw cookies, and guys are they're going to hit the cookies. So Littleton, Colorado prospect, good for Aiden. Happy for him going 178 to the Rangers. Then we talked about how easy it was for Michael Anderson for pronunciation of the names. I'm probably going to butcher this, so I'm just going to go for it. Eric Knoxteam. Hopefully that was close enough. From McNeese State going 179 to the San Francisco Giants. Anything on him, sir?
Really, really good fastball, man. It's like a ton of IVB carries, so it's going to get a lot of cut ride. I think he was averaging north of 21, 22 inches of that this year. And even with the new ball, like going to the pro ball, he'll probably get like 18 at max. He kind of got into the low 90s this year, been up to 95, 96. Was a really, really good starter for McNeese. If I remember correctly, the first 100K guy they've had since Will Dion a couple years ago. And I'd say that's a testament to how good McNeese can develop some arms here. But has a decent breaking ball, but he's definitely fastball primarily. And to go off of Aiden Brainerd, that I've finally pulled it up, this is another guy who can spin the baseball really, really well. Been up to 96, averages 92.7, but doesn't miss a ton of bats with the curveball and slider, both distinct shapes. Slider performed better at 47% whiff rate this year. So that's another one where you look at the spin and go, hey, this works perfectly.
He's got stuff. It's just, can you put it over the plate?
Yeah.
He's walked a lot of guys. We talked about Canuck going from the pitching staff of Clemson. Now we are getting to another one with Justin LeGuernick going 180 to the Royals. If Jared was on the pod, we'd have to get his feel for it as our Royal on the bunch. Any thoughts on Justin for you?
Really, really solid relief profile, in my opinion. This is a kid that he's a low slot guy, despite being like 6'5", 220, if I remember correctly. But he's a guy that has a really, really good fastball. The velo jump this year has a really diabolical breaking ball. See you later, Peter. And it really, really did a good job this year of finding success in that bullpen for Clemson. So, this is a solid get for the Royals, in my opinion. And even going past that, Alec Petrovich, who we kind of put in late on the board.
This guy, love this guy.
Yeah, this is a really, really solid, like, high floor starter guy for me. He threw a ton of strikes this year. The fastball velo jumped up. It's deceptive. He doesn't have the greatest fastball shape, but he's able to command it well and get some good IVV out of it. But the changeup's the moneymaker, like super high spin changeup that plays off of the fastball tunnel. It's really interesting. He has feel for a breaking ball, but he really turned out to be, if I remember correctly, like a Saturday or Sunday guy for Auburn
He
this
was
year.
he was their Sunday, but he basically pushed Sanders to kind of that fourth spot.
Yeah.
For me, this was my favorite starter for Auburn. Just kind of keeps hitters uncomfortable. And we were talking about it with Brainerd. It's like, hey, can you throw this guy? He pumps the zone. So you're talking about a 97th percentile whip last year, a K per walk that's in 94. Basically, you can say whatever stat you want, and he's in the 90th percentile for it. And he did in the SEC. So I feel like this is a guy that I think he could move quickly because he has stuff, and he has stuff that he can put in the zone, and he has multiple pitches that he can put in the zone, and he just makes hitters uncomfortable. So 134 Ks over 120. So he has a lot of volume, a lot of success. He's done in the SEC. I like this pick a lot. 181 to the Mets. Good for you, Mets, for getting a good pick. Now we've got 182 Michael Adari to the Astros here in Houston from Illinois State. Anything on him, sir?
That's an Astros pick if I've ever seen one, man. That is a very solid pick. He's 6'6", 230, very, very big arm, but again, it's another one of those guys that has like a low slot release, gets a really flat approach angle. He's been up to 97 this year. The biggest thing, obviously, getting the fastball flatness and the vertical approach angle, and also has a good feel for a sweeper that kind of like he'll add and subtract some carry to it, and also has feel for a changeup. So I think he's a reliever. But the Astros like going after trades, and this is definitely a guy that fits that mold. And then Duncan Marston to the Reds here in the sixth round.
He's a big pick.
Yeah, this is. I know some people had him as a top 100 pick. I thought he was more like in this range because the command just never really turned the corner this year like I wanted it to. But it's big stuff. Really, really good extension. Been up to 98, 99 with a more of like a two-seam fastball. The breaking ball improved this year from what it was as a high schooler. I like to see them try him out as a starter. Personally, I think he has the capabilities to do it. But if the command doesn't turn the corner, this is a monster relief profile for the Reds. So I kind of do like it in this range.
Speaking of monster profile, number 184 going to your Guardians, you have Dayton LaChance. There was a period where it was almost like if you throw anything into this guy, or if you throw anything in the dirt away, he was missing it. He was an easy out, to be perfectly honest. About halfway through the year, and I know everyone's always pointed to this because he was in Omaha and everyone regurgitates the same stats, but it just like it flipped a switch. So you're talking about a JUCO kid who comes to Oklahoma. He's a catcher. I don't see him being a catcher in the pros, honestly. Something tells me they're going to try to see if they can put him at first, if they can DH him, like maybe try to put him in like a short porch and left. Where did he go? He go to Guardians is a good example. Maybe put him in left with that short porch where they just have the wall. Like I just don't really see him at catcher. He's kind of a big, bulky guy. You say that's the goal. I was like, oh, what's going on? But you're talking about just a home run powered dude. Any kind of cement mixer that you put up there, it's probably going over the fence. The run that he went on effectively that last 2 months is just insane. So really happy for him. Really happy. I mean, a good round 5 and 6 for the Sooners as they've had now LJ and Willits and LaChance. So a lot of Sooners going. Now, anything more on that, or you want to jump to the next one?
Oh no, I was kind of trying to like go off the what you said with like that run. He had no home runs until like what, April 11th this year, which was insane.
He was bad. He was bad, to be honest.
He ended with the most on the team, if I remember correctly. He had like 18 on the year after that. So just an insane second half run, and was again another big catalyst for that run to Omaha and the title. Brent Lemon, by the way, Abilene Christian, is the second straight year that Abilene has had a pick within the top 6 rounds.
ACU.
Yeah, they've done a really good job. This is a guy that, left-handed pick. He's in the portal too, if I remember correctly. Correct me if I'm wrong, but
that is accurate. But he's not committed anywhere.
No, he's going to go to the Red Sox here. If you're taking this high, you're signing. But big extension traits. He's been up to 7 feet extension from the left side. Been up to 96. He got lit up a little bit this year, both on the Cape and in I can't remember what their conference is, but it's a very offensive heavy conference, if I remember correctly. But he still performed well. The stuff's really good,
Yep.
and that really just shows to show like 6'5", 228, big kid. There's a lot to like with that kid. And new Contrades, that's a good pick for the Padres. That's a really, really good bat.
Yep. Good shortstop out of the Big 12. Everyone always kind of mentioned the Hairston, but they had a number of other bats, and Contreras was definitely one of those that made his mark in the Big 12. I like the location. He's from the West. He's staying out west, going to the Padres. Just a sub 1,000 OPS guy. He has career 36 bombs. He's got 85 extra base hits over his best year was last year with a near 1,200 OPS. So again, like everyone always mentioned Harrison with his like circa 1,400 OPS. They had him with a near 1,200 as well. So it was kind of it'll be interesting to see. Like I know Harrison will still have the same year, but not having. I mean, they'll have Hotchkiss right beside him, so I guess that'll provide value. But you're talking about a guy who's 99 percentile in slug, 99th in ISO. Again, just kind of at the top end of pretty much everything. Massive series against BYU where he hit 4 bombs. He had like 2,000 OPS on the weekend. So really excited for him and a great pickup for the Padres.
Yeah, and the power came on this year too. Like I think before the year, his highest like home run total in the year was like 6 or 8. Hit 21 bombs this year. The power really produced. He had approach change where he's pulling the ball more. So if the Padres are able to do that with him while also maintaining the hit tool prowess he's had for 3 years at Arizona State, this is a really, really good value pick for them. So I like that for the Padres. After
And
that,
another
Maddox
Hawaiian.
Maloney. Yeah, another
Maddox
Hawaiian.
Maloney went. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Run
so
on
Maddox Maloney.
shortstops, college shortstops.
Yeah, didn't have the greatest year, admittedly, but
No,
had
he
a really
didn't.
good sophomore year.
Well,
But
I will say it was really bad at the beginning. He came on at the end.
yeah, and this is another one where you definitely look at this a year ago and say, "Oh, this is great value." Like you mentioned, like he got better as the year went on, but the hit tool kind of had some warts. He doesn't hit for power as much as he did a year ago, which the EVs were never large. I think his max was like 108, but he can really pull the baseball in the air. And that was the biggest thing we saw from a year ago. Really good shortstop, but Ryan Cooney very clearly was the better infield duo of the pair. And to see Maloney still get picked here is impressive. I think I like what the Detroit Tigers have been doing for going after these college guys.
I mean, he has it like in him. Like, I mean, he had 5 home runs in one weekend versus Ohio State. Like, I mean, he's capable of doing it. He's got 37 career home runs. But again, almost going back to the Aiden Canuck, kind of Kyle Johnson, his best year was 2 years ago as a freshman in Oregon in 2024 when he posted a north of 1,000 OPS. So he was pretty highly ranked, but I think more of just projection rather than actual production in 2026. And then we have another beaver, or not beaver, gopher, some sort of vermin that is small and in the water. Apologies. One of my best friends is from Minnesota, so if he sees this, he'll probably be like, "What the hell? You didn't know our mascot there for a half second?" We work with Minnesota, but whatever. Isaac Morton, another pitcher from the Big Ten, another 4-year guy. So you're talking about what is he? He's almost 22. He's a 4-year junior righty. Do you have anything on Isaac?
This is another Texas to Minnesota guy, but he was Texas A&M. Right. So he was drafted by the Brewers in 23, if I remember correctly, as a high schooler. He's been up to 96 this year, but the biggest thing has been the sweeper. Throws it super, super hard. Is 85 to 88. I think the comp I made for it was like a Griffin Jax X sweeper.
Oh, nice.
Where you look at the movement profile, you look at the velo range, and also look at the spin rates. That was like the only one I could make sense of. And Griffin Jax obviously having a great year for the Rays in the starting role. Do I think Morton's a starter? Not necessarily. Kind of a short strider with some lack of extension, but this is a power arm for the Cubs. So this is a very solid get. And he ended the year hurt, if I remember correctly, but still, I don't think you look at this and go, this is a bad pick per se. Like he has really, really good stuff.
No, I think honestly this is a pretty good location for him. He did go 7 innings versus Illinois where he threw 6 Ks, 3 walks, only 2 hits allowed. You're right. So I mean, he pitched 3 years, 78 innings, 89 Ks on the mound. You always like to see the more Ks, but still, to your point, like his FIP was 68th percentile last year. So you're excited, but I think this one maybe has he landed in the right spot, but I think he'll spend a little bit more time in the minors if I were to try to put it. And now another high schooler going 189, Andrew Gonzalez going to the Yankees. Who do we have to feel sorry for here? We have to feel sorry for Texas Tech.
Yeah.
Sorry, Texas Tech. He will not be showing up to Lubbock. What are your thoughts on Andrew?
He was a guy that kind of popped out late for me, and I left him on the outside looking in for the top 313, but goes well above that. He's a really, really big slugger. This is a very strong kid. There's a ton of bat speed and raw power. I think there's above average raw power there. He can hammer fastballs, has some swing and miss, he can spin, but it's a guy that can play at multiple positions. He is a third baseman, outfield, plays shortstop for his high school team at Americas out there in Texas. Also has really, really good arm strength, but this is a guy that you're taking a bet on the power upside here. And I think that's exactly what the Yankees are going to get. They've done a good job of developing these guys. Outside of those two that we had talked about with Martin and Gonzalez, Macon Winslow, by the way, going from Duke to UNC, now going to Philly, which is fantastic. I love that kid a lot. And then Henry Ford going to Seattle. This is another pick that the Mariners make that
Portal
kind of look at. Yeah, this is he went undrafted a year ago, goes to Tennessee, has like a similar year. I don't know if he's a third baseman per se, but I remember it's big power with a decent hit tool, a little stiff, but it's a solid bat regardless. And then making Winslow, to touch on him before going to the Brewers pick at 192, Winslow improved so much at the plate this year. His chase rate dropped 10%. His whiff rate against sliders had dropped 10%. He was hitting the ball harder. The UNC did a really, really good job of putting him into a position to succeed this year. He was injured and didn't get behind the plate as often. Colin Hynek became that big defensive piece, and Winslow, I'm still kind of curious on how people perceive him as a catcher, but he played outfield at Duke. Maybe he kind of goes out there. Maybe you give him some more reps behind the plate, but Winslow, the bat really improved this year, and this is a very solid get for the Phillies. And then Ryan Oshinsky going to the Brewers. That is a Brewers pick if I've ever seen one.
Well, I wanted to touch on Henry Ford just for a second, so we don't. He's kind of an oddity to me because really, you look at his numbers. His numbers were pretty close to what they were last year, and he was like kind of seen as maybe a third to fifth round pick last year. So I think this is actually quite a bit of value for the Mariners in terms. I mean, his best season again, if you look at Henry Ford, was again going back to Kyle Johnson, was probably 2024 when he had an OPS north of like 1,000. But he's still a guy that'll get you some crazy power. 272 plate appearances this year. So I think maybe what could have done him in, to your point, is what position do you play him? Like, is he toolsy enough for a middle infielder? Is he quick enough? Does he have the arm for third base? Where does he have the power for right? So I think it's kind of like a which hole do we put him in? So maybe that's why he fell a little bit. That's about the only thing I can think of. Did you pull up the Ivy League stud, Mr. Ryan, while I was talking about Henry?
I didn't even need to pull him up. This is a guy
look at you go.
Brian Recca, by the way, if you don't follow his Northeast stuff, and I understand he's had a lot of stuff ongoing the past year, give him a follow, do what you need to. He is fantastic. But he was talking to me about Shinsky a year ago where he performed well on the Cape and then he has a really, really good changeup. It's really interesting where I would say it's like a 60 grade, maybe even 70 grade pitch. And going to the Brewers are going to maximize the value out of that. Been up to 95, 96, super lanky, super projectable, but didn't pitch this year because of an injury. So the Brewers are taking a gamble on the upside here, and I think I really like it. This is an arm that's going to have a big year if he was fully healthy for Brown.
Going pick 193 to the Blue Jays is Gabe Mitchell out of Iowa. This is a unique pick, especially for me because they're calling him a shortstop. He was a primary second baseman at Iowa, so I'll be intrigued to see where he stays in the pros. They're calling him a short, so they're absolutely going to give him a shot. His best year last year, 987 OPS. He has 70 career, extra base hits. Again, sorry, Buckeyes. He had a phenomenal weekend versus the Buckeyes where he hit a couple bombs, had 7 RBIs. You like the power that comes with it, but his weighted run created last year is the 97th percentile. So he had a really great May June last year. We had or uh, actually, I apologize if there's something I said great. I meant not as great. His May June last year, he only had like a 650 OPS. So kind of towards it, he really started to tail off. So I don't really think he was on a lot of boards. He's a little bit smaller. He's only 5'9". He's listed at 5'9", maybe 5'9", 5'8", from Iowa City, Iowa. I don't know if you have anything on Gable.
Yeah, 4-year starter for the Hawkeyes too. Like he's a hometown kid, like you mentioned, from Iowa City. He was born and raised there. So undersized, I would say give him a chance to shortstop. I think the defense is good enough, and let it go from there. I think this is a solid pick for the Blue Jays, where you're taking a gamble, obviously on the defense, but he's got a good bat to go with it. He was a guy that I considered kind of sneaking into the back end of the board, but looking at this year, 89% contact rate on the year, 30 walks, 18 Ks, doesn't chase a ton. So you're going after the hit tool here, and it's a theme that we've seen this year. I was going to write about it on the day one recap that I was hoping to get out today, but haven't got it out yet. Where teams have prioritized these healthy hit tools, and that was a theme from like pick 5 that we saw, because Derek Curiel, Zion Rose were guys that had safer hit tools, and they go 5-6. And then Jake Schaffner's in at 20 for the Red Sox. So teams are prioritizing these really safe hit tools and high contact rates. So that's exactly what Gable is, and that's a really solid get for the Blue Jays.
Awesome. Well, it looks like we have a little bit of break in the picks because I'm not seeing anything pop up. We had a question come in from the chat of how are the Cardinals looking? And honestly, I was talking with a Big 12 coach, and the word that I got, he said Trevor Condon is the best player in the world. So I think this is a player that some people maybe had in the teens, the upper teens in terms of their board. I think this is kind of a steal. Tegan Kuhns is another guy that really had first round written all over him, and he just snuck into the first round. But you're talking about a guy with explosive stuff. Dawson Montesa is another guy out of West Virginia that I was talking with the Mounties coaches, and I was basically like, hey, are you going to be able to get this guy back? And he's like, oh, no, this guy's going to be – I did not see anywhere whatsoever he'd be going as high. But you're talking about a 95, 97 mile per hour fastball, phenomenal breaker. And then you get a guy like D. Kennedy, who was absolutely insane for Kansas State last year. So there was a point where it was D. Kennedy and Maximus Martin, who were both just going nuts for them over the past few years. A guy who's also previously from Texas. So there's really a lot to like about the Cardinals draft this year, in my opinion.
Yeah, they've had a really, really solid draft, just top to bottom. Obviously, getting Trevor Condon at 13, I thought he was more like going to the Arizona, because that kind of fits their MO of like these smaller guys that can lead off. They've gone after Cunningham and gone after Colorado the past couple of years. But for the Cardinals to get him at 13 was fantastic. Kuhns was a first rounder for me. Rocco Maniscalco is a premium glove that had a lot of helium late. Andrew Williamson had a great year, UCF. Montesa. Caden Ferraro, in my opinion, I thought he was more like a 50s to 60s guy, really, really big damage production, but doesn't really have a position. But the bat's super, super good. And then you get D. Kennedy, Cal Randall, and obviously Owen Henney, who, again, big hit tool. You kind of let the hit tool do the talking and have some defensive prowess there, big projection. So I like what the Cardinals have done. I think Henney comes at a discount, but when you're looking at it, they've just put together one of the better hauls, throughout the class.
Yeah, I think they're just going to have to save some money for Trevor Condon, because you look at all their picks. They got 2 high school guys in Condon and Maniscalco. But then the rest of them are pretty much north of 21, except Montesa, who's a pretty young 4-year junior. He's 20.9. So yeah. I think they're really going to have to pay for Trevor at that spot. I mean, his slot value is 5'6". I wouldn't be surprised to see him go north of 6 on that one. I think he has the talent to where he could help. I mean, he may be looking like a 6'5", to be frank. So they may need $1 million worth of value within other locations. Yeah. Are we in a little bit of a break? Because unless my refresh is not working, I'm sure there's a break between round 6 and round 7. Because we are. I assume we're at a break because that was the last pick of round 6, 193. Next pick will be round 7, 194 for the Colorado Rockies. So they're probably just taking a little bit of a break. Thoughts on the first couple of rounds here today?
It's been interesting, like looking around to see what, the big swinging, obviously, Alex Weingartner for the White Sox. That's a really, really good pick for what they have. Looking at the fifth round, I like the fit for Tyler Putnam to the Rockies. Look at Ryan Marone. The Pirates, again, have put together a pretty solid draft. They know what they're good at. They're going after these arms that they know they can fix. So I like the ideas there. Then looking farther down, like, again, I just love the idea of Bear Harrison in the Yankee system. Big power guy. I love that for them so much. And then looking at round 6, kind of looking around, like, again, I think the Owen Henney pick is very interesting for the Cardinals. Just going to put that out there. He was obviously the first D2 guy off the board.
Yep.
And then you look at it, like Alec Petrovich to the Mets is a solid get.
Love that pick.
I do like Isaac Morton to the Cubs. That just fits them well. And then, of course, making Winslow, just seeing him improve so much the past couple of years was really impressive. I think the Phillies got a good one there.
Question on the chat was surprised to still see Trey Phelps on the board. I am. I mean, you're talking about a guy. He's an older junior. He's north of 22. We had him probably in that like 180 range. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he's taken early in the 7th here. A real toolsy, again, almost like a same thing with Henry Ford. It's like, is he going to be good enough to play third? Like, can he play? Almost like, do you try to put him in a corner outfield spot? Like, I don't know his position, but I do know that he can mash. And then it's also kind of the thought process of how do you translate Georgia numbers to real numbers? Just because, frankly, I think you saw a little bit with Daniel Jackson. Their numbers get so inflated in Athens that sometimes maybe it's a little bit different. But I really like him. I mean, again, I think he was in the 120s in the MLB.com board. So he's definitely, in theory, should have been gone by now. But Georgia needs players. Talking with some Georgia coaches, I think they said they still needed, 6 to 8 more players. So I wouldn't be – I would be shocked if he came back because, again, he's just a junior. So theoretically, he has 2 more years, but he's an older junior at 22.
Yeah, he was draft eligible last year. And the biggest thing I saw this year was the improvement of the bat-to-ball skills. Like, he struggled a lot last year with making contact. He didn't really get back to his freshman year form where he was hitting, 12 home runs, but also only struck out 10 times. Like, it was impressive what he did his freshman year. But the biggest thing has been the defense. Like, he doesn't have a true position. He was tried out third this year. Didn't necessarily move the greatest. I was watching film and probably spent half an hour kind of critiquing his movement profile there. And I think he's a better fit for second base, maybe a corner outfield spot. That's my thinking on it, to kind of take the pressure off the defense. But I'm a little shocked that he is still available. He has 149 for us on the big board, if not 150. So he's in that range. And I would like to see, I would say he gets taken before the end of the first 10 rounds. So we'll see what happens.
I hate to ever look ahead, but I feel like if you get past the 8th, I would start to feel a little bit better if you're a Bulldog, because once you start to get past the 8th, you're really kind of looking, unless teams really reach, you're looking at not a lot higher than 250. They'll do the 150. Is the cutoff 150, 11 through 20 again this year, to where if you do anything 150 or below, it doesn't impact your bonus purse?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yep.
So effectively, unless they're just really trying, unless you have a team that just has a cash to sling, and I don't know if you're going to be slinging it on a 22-year-old with not really sure the position. If he gets the 8th, maybe Georgia can be thinking hey, can we talk to his agent and try to provide a package that gets him back to campus? Because again, he theoretically has 2 years left. So if he were to get $300K from Georgia, he could make $600K over the next 2 years, which he's well beyond that in terms of the current bonus purse. Where are we at right now? So we're at one. So right now the bonus purse is 410. I'm sorry. Let me do the pick number. Sort.
So 194. It is 327.
330. So especially for a 22-year-old, in that location, he'd be looking at 170 to 225 would be in that range, because they wouldn't give him full value as a 22-year-old. So I think you're kind of getting into that gray area of could he potentially be coming back?
Yeah, in just looking at it, there's another question too about Archer Horn. I'm going to put it up here while we're talking about it. I'm kind of shocked Archer Horn hasn't been traded, or not traded, but picked yet. Like, this is a guy that had a ton of helium. He's 38th on my board, and it looks like obviously Stanford commits are tough to figure out. I came into this year thinking like one or two guys may have been drafted, and it was definitely Spangler and Horn. But not Horn so far. I know they value education a lot in that family. That's always the thing with the Stanford commits. So does somebody give him overslot significantly farther down the board here? We'll see. But I do feel like at this point, if Horn's not taken by the end of the top 10 rounds, he's going to school, which is a big get for Stanford. Like, they have a really solid recruiting class this year on the high school side. So I'm excited to see what they can do next year up there on the Hill.
So I did a back review of the last 5 years. So if you were a top 100 player, like a consensus, like kind of in all of the boards, if you got past the 6th round, you had an 85% chance of making it to campus. So think of it like if you had 10 high schoolers in that top 100 that were unpicked, you probably have between 8 to 9 that were going to be making it to campus. So I think there's a pretty good likelihood that he makes it now. You could still find a team. Let's see which teams theoretically have a ton of money right now. Let's do theoretical available. So the Diamondbacks, in theory, should have quite a bit. The Diamondbacks, the Red Sox, the Tigers, but teams like the Angels or the White Sox or the Braves, it's kind of like, okay, they may not have the value. So sometimes you're honestly now looking who has the money to be able to pay it. Maybe the Diamondbacks. It seems like in theory they have about $1 million that they can play with. So you're almost like when you come to those teams, you're kind of like crossing your fingers and your toes and hoping that they don't pick them.
Yeah, and by the way, we started on round 7 here. The Rockies have put their first pick in. But Jack Scott out of Central Missouri, that's the first D2 arm off the board. He's 6'4", 200. Don't have a ton on him, admittedly, because it is just tough to get a lot of stuff out of D2 ball. But
give me 1 second. I'll pull him up for you.
Yeah, I do see across a small sample, it looks like it's just 2 games, 38% fastball whiff, 63% slider whiff. So it looks like a reliever guy that is going to save some money for the Rockies here, admittedly, but trying to find some stuff here. Like,
he's a 6'4" pitcher out of Olathe, Kansas. He's had an 85th percentile FIP in D2 last year. Had a really good weekend versus UAFS, where he threw 4 1/3, 7 Ks, 2 hits, only 2 walks allowed. You don't like the K per walk. It's about the 51st percentile amongst D2 pitchers. So that's D2. He had a good FIP, which is usually pretty odd because your FIP takes into account the amount of walks that you have. So he's a guy that will strike out a lot, but he'll walk a lot. So he 145 career innings, only 133 Ks though. So you don't really see that K above the innings pitched. So when you look at it from kind of an outside in, it feels like a unique pitch, but it's kind of one of those things. Like if you have one of those, if you have a workout with a team and it goes well, they're willing to take a chance, especially in the 7th round. If you're willing to say, hey, I'll take 25K.
Yeah, absolutely. And then going past this now, the picks are starting to come off the board quickly. Clay Burdett from Xavier. He was eligible last year. Big power guy, if I remember correctly, from Xavier. And he's performed well. He performed well this year. If I remember correctly, he tore ECU to kind of start the year. And Xavier always tests themselves in out-of-conference play. So nice to see him be rewarded. After him, Gage Peterson from App State, who's been – like I had talked to a couple of guys around here. I remember texting Ty Hullov with the Mariners, who, if you don't know him, he's fantastic. Love the guy to death. And I remember asking him, do you think Gage Peterson from App State is like an interesting back-end top 10 guy? He's like, yeah, for sure. In looking at it, he gets a lot of backspin on the fastball, been up to 95, 96. Had over 100 strikeouts the first time for an App State arm since Sander Hamilton a couple years ago. Good top-down curveball, has feel for a changeup and a slider. So you're going off of the fastball traits here. It's good extension, good velocity, has some feel for the strike zone, and that's what the Nationals are going after. So I like the pick here. He came in at 250 on our original board, and if I remember correctly, he was around that range too. So he was a guy I put in late and kind of feel happy about that one myself. But again, it's all credit to the scouts that go out there and find these guys, and asking, again, Ty Hullov and some other guys about them. It's definitely a solid pick here for the value.
Perfect. And I'll take the next two picks for you, give you a little bit. Maybe if you want to talk on any of them. But Max Bales out of Santa Clara, he's going 197 to the Minnesota Twins. Santa Clara has been really producing a lot of talent, it feels like, over the past few years. He's kind of been in that maybe 350, 250 kind of range in terms of a portal prospect, or not portal prospect, draft prospect. Great Sierra, great FIP. His OPS allowed was 94th percentile. He had 179 career innings pitched, tons of Ks, nearly 260 Ks in his career. And then we talked already about Wes Mendez and Trey Beard. Now the third starting pitcher for the Seminoles is going with Bryson Moore. He is going to the Pittsburgh Pirates. So he will be going pick 198. I mean, there was a time where even when they had Wes Mendez, even when they had Trey Beard, it felt like Bryson Moore was the best pitcher on the staff. So I really like this pick. A lot of projection. Kane's Heat says I was putting out transfers in the. I'm sorry, I was trying to see Blake Morningstar. Apologies, was reading chat when I should have been. But I really like this Bryson Moore pick. Anything on him? Because I know, we've already seen two more college pitchers coming in. If you want to talk about them, I'll pull them up.
I'll talk about Bryson Moore first because this is an intriguing profile. I saw him against Wake Forest this year, and the thing that stood out was the ability to command the baseball well and also have like a deeper pitch mix. The fastball is more nondescript. Like, he has great feel to spin the baseball, but doesn't miss bats. And in looking at it, like the spin is impressive. He gets 3,000 RPMs to spin on the breaking balls. Has good feel for a hard changeup too. So like, this is again another one where the Pirates know how to develop arms and they're going after profiles they know they can develop. So this is a really, really good fit. And Moore, I think, is more of like I would say a higher floor guy, but I say you trot him out as a starter and see if he can improve the velocity. If he starts throwing harder, look out. This is a guy that he, again, has really, really good stuff. Moving past that, Ryan Hertzler from Auburn was a reliever for them. Trying to find some more stuff on him right now, but he came from Cal Baptist a couple years ago to Auburn. And then
Cal Baptist Auburn transfer. Yep. It's like 5'11" from Corona, California. 111 career innings pitched, 100 Ks on the mound. This guy was 100 percentile K per walk. Now it's only over 37 innings pitched, so he's not going to really walk people. So you love to see that as a coach. 98th percentile whip, so people just don't get on. He strikes guys out. So you really love to see that. After him, we were just talking about Hetzler. We've got Peach. Is that I'm sure I'm butchering the phonetic of that, but do you know anything on Ryan going 200 to the Orioles?
Yep, very, very good arm, underrated arm for Xavier, in my opinion. We had him in the top 200. Biggest thing, he's throwing harder after surgery. He had TJ last year, came back and pitched all right, but the command jumped this year. Been up to 96, 97 with really, really good backspin on the baseball. Gets a lot of carry. Top down curveball is impressive. He lands it for strikes routinely, has feel for a slider and a changeup, but he's young for the class. I don't think he's 21 yet. And Xavier, he put together a really good year for Xavier. So this is a solid pick for them. Looking at
another two-way guy. Oh, I'm sorry. You're going on, Hetzler. Go ahead.
Oh, no, it's good. I was just bringing up his stuff to kind of give an idea of what the stuff looks like. He averaged 94 this year. 71% strikes is impressive. He had 78 and 74 between the fastball and slider alone. The slider's a really solid pitch. Again, just doesn't allow guys on base. Also has an intriguing changeup that's low spin, doesn't get a lot of, vertical carry to it. So wanted to touch on him before we move on to these next two picks. Sorry to cut you off there.
Yeah, no, you're good. It's really starting to flow now. We got a couple high schoolers that went, but I don't want to skip over David Rosso from Campbell, who went to the Athletics 201. This is another guy that you're almost thinking like, can he maybe be a two-way player? So 6'3" kid at Boca Raton, Florida. He was a Miami, Florida transfer. Kane's Heat, I'm sure. Yep, Kane's Heat just said former Kane. So he's a 4-year guy. He's an older guy, but he had a great year at Campbell. 132, almost 135 career innings pitched. 159 Ks. So you really like to see the K numbers, but he's an older guy. My assumption is there's going to be this will be potentially a value pick at this spot. And I know you're excited to talk about this run on high school kids. So why don't you take those away?
Yeah, first and foremost, Marcelo, he looked good when I saw him this year, dead zone fastball, but the field of spin's outstanding. So
Yeah.
wanted to put that out there. But Jack Brenner and AJ Rice, back-to-back picks here for the Braves and the Rays. Jack Brenner, we had in the top 100. Like, he is a really, really good bat. Had some of the better bat-to-ball skills on the summer circuit last year. He can play multiple positions. I think he's a catcher and a shortstop, is what we had him listed as. But the Braves absolutely loved him. And talking to some of the Braves guys late here, there's a few guys that they had mentioned, like, hey, Jack Brenner's like a sleeper for us. I'm like, is he a sleeper if he's a top 100 pick for us? This is a guy that can hit. He has versatility. There's some growing power there. He's going to get a lot of money from Atlanta to get away from that Oklahoma commitment. But again, Wisconsin year in, year out they have a lot of talent, which makes me feel bad for any Wisconsin Badger fans who, like, you can get a lot of Wisconsin talent and be a really, really good baseball team. But it's just tough with the location, obviously, for that school. After that, AJ Rice, this is a smaller Auburn commit. Like, he's 6 foot, he's not even 6 foot. He's 5'11", 175, but he can spin the baseball really, really well. Been up to 95 this year, has great command. And it's kind of a projection pick. Maybe you let him start, but with the Rays, this is a profile they look for. This is really good. Derek Schaefer, another really good reliever from the
Former
Big 12.
Volunteer.
Yeah, he went home. He has been up to 99 this year. Really good breaking ball. So this is a fun one. Eric Guevara out from Auburn was another top 100 pick for us. He can mash as well as anybody. He had a lot of power this year. His ability to pull the baseball is impressive. His fastball prowess is impressive. He can play third base. This is a really good pick. And he's from Panama. This is it's a rare place for baseball guys. Like, there's not really a ton of Panamanians in the league. I think it's like 8 to 10 is what I had on the blurb. So he's looking to be the next one from Panama City, came to the U.S. and had a really, really good year for the Tigers. And then Carson Turnquist in the portal, but doesn't look like he's going to leave that portal. He's going to go to Arizona. And he's another one, had a lot of helium late in the year, been up to 97, 98, has a good feel for a breaking ball, but the extension traits to kind of go after that, you're going after fastball quality. So I think that's what the Arizona Diamondbacks are doing. And he helped Cal Poly make it to Supers this year. He had a really good start in the regionals. Obviously, great first inning against West Virginia, then they kind of lit him up, but it's a very good arm. That's probably a reliever, but it's power stuff. And then you got Caden Yoki, who's the complete opposite, and he's just a pitchability guy with a deep mix and throws you to catch sink. But he did really, really well for both USC and Georgia. I'll let you talk about him.
No. You went on a run right there. That was impressive. Guevara. So again, they keep listing these guys as shortstops. I feel like they're just throwing up shortstop. He was a phenomenal third baseman, great defensive third baseman. There was a really big stretch when they had all of these players around him, Rembert and Frelick, and I think he was their best hitter there for a good stretch. So I really like that pick. Auburn kind of gets hit, kind of twice in 3 picks with AJ Rice. Obviously not going to be making it to campus. Guevara not going to be coming back to campus. Aoki was a guy that halfway through the year, people are like, what is he? He's a starter? Is he a relief pitcher? He's just a pitcher. I'll be intrigued to see what they do with him in the pros because, again, he doesn't have the blow you away stuff, but he's a guy that can legitimately throw 5 pitches for strikes and almost just like put it wherever you want. So he's not like your crazy 99 pitcher, but he's gonna touch 90 and he's gonna throw a lot of funky pitches. It'll just be really, can he find the right system to kind of get him to be able to get to the pros, because you're just not really seeing a ton of guys with that sub 80s making it to the pros now. So I think he'll be able to make it off of his spin potentially, but I think he had a phenomenal year for Georgia. I know he had the complete game in the College World Series and it didn't go as he had expected it to because the team didn't win, but he really helped them save a lot of their arms versus Oklahoma when he went that complete game. A couple of more picks back to back. We've got the San Francisco Giants taking Bo Bryans from Jacksonville State, Jack State. And then we've got another Georgia Bulldog, another portal get, Dylan Vigue, the poor Big Ten, both of two of their top pitchers went to Georgia between 25 to 26, and they both go within a couple of picks of one another. I'll talk on Dylan if you want to talk on Bo. I'm going to take the easier one because he's from SEC. You probably know more about Bo. Dylan was a guy that I think they were trying to figure out where he was going to go in the rotation. And I think that you could pretty much say that about every player for Georgia. It was basically Volchko was our starter, and then who else are we going to throw for 4 innings? And there were times where he really shined, and there were other times where it was kind of like, all right, well, maybe this was just a little bit of a struggle. So his best moments were probably in the Big Ten when he was what, freshman pitcher of the year. You're really excited about him. Still had a phenomenal year for Georgia. Obviously, they had a great season. Happy for him going 209. I'm sure Jared maybe is somewhere excited that his Royals got another really good college player. But do you want to talk on Bo, who went 208 to the Giants?
Yeah, I can talk about Bo, and then obviously Aiden Keenan to the Mets here, who I kind of threw on the board late, so I'm again happy about that. But Bo Bryans is interesting. This is a kid that went to JUCO for 2 years, goes to Alabama, and he was interesting there because he had big crossfire. I'm talking like Ben Abel, Chris Sale kind of crossfire, where he's essentially coming from the first base side of the rubber and throwing across his body. And he had more velo this year. He's been up to 97, if I remember correctly. Does throw strikes. That's the biggest thing. It's a low slot lefty with kind of fringy command for the strike zone, but his command improved this year enough as a starter at Jack State to help him out. The slider really plays off the angle he creates. It's more of a gyro ball with like some bullet qualities to it, but 48% whiff on the year, has feel for a changeup. So it's a power arsenal. I think he's just more of a reliever at the next level, but it's still funky. It's super interesting. You take that guy at this stage and have fun with it. Aiden Keenan, he was injured halfway through the year, didn't really pitch until like the final series of the season against Cal, and then they faced Cal in Charlotte, which if you weren't there for the Cal-Stanford elimination game in Charlotte, North Carolina, I don't know what you were doing. Still weird to have said that, but Keenan struck out 5 in like 2 innings, or maybe a little bit more than that. He was phenomenal for the Cardinal that day. Was up to 97, but the breaking ball was electric, and he can add subtract some sweep to it. He was getting like 13 or 14 inches of horizontal sweep on average that start. And the biggest thing was the improvement on command. Do you think he starts? I have no idea, but the biggest thing for him was the arm swing went from like super long, super stabby to more controlled. I would like to see the command get better, but Aiden Keenan was one of my guys late in the cycle, and I love what he did in Charlotte against Cal. So this is a guy that I really like for the Mets.
Okay, perfect. So on to 211. You always love to see it on the MLB.com when they just have like the Joe Random face with no face. That's Brian Carney from the University of Olivet going to the Astros. You want to talk about an Astros pick? D3 pitcher, probably one of the best D3 pitchers. This is a guy who had 18 Ks versus Albion, 8 innings pitched, 2 hits, only 3 walks. He was 100% off FIP, 100% off Fiera. He was 99% okay. He was probably the best pitcher in D3. Did really well for Olivet last year. 4-year guy. He's an older dude. 288 Ks and 240 innings pitched. So you're talking about a workhorse for Olivet, one of the top players in D3. So again, this is a place in the draft where sometimes you can start to find value, but you're also going to have just a guy who could go out there and throw some innings pitched. So Brian Carney going 211 to the Astros. I'll jump to Sherman Johnson unless you have anything more on Brian.
No, this is a classic Astro. The Astros know how to go after these D2 and D3 guys. There's a guy that got last year. Pentecost, I think, was from Taylor. It was NAIA school, but they know how to find these guys at any level. So shout out to the Astros for doing that. Yeah. Sherman Johnson, by the way, fantastic kid. Fantastic. Like
we both share him. He was a Razorback for a little bit.
He was a Razorback. Then he had like helium with the Twins last year. Then didn't get a spot at Arkansas. Goes to NC State. He was the third.
They just had too many people, frankly.
Yeah, and like Sherman was there's points this year where the power was there, especially late in the year. He had a power surge. The hit tool's good, but he's aggressive. But the glove at third base is really, really good. I think he stays on the left side of the infield. you work on the impact, you go from there. But this is a kid that previously, goes to McLennan, takes him to the College World Series at the JUCO level, and he won the Defensive Player of the Tournament award. So that really goes to show how well his defense is. And this is a kid I really enjoy. So good for Sherman. When I talked to him at the end of the year, where he was really, really good, he was just super kind, super helpful. And he really had a lot of faith in the coaches at NC State. So this is a kid that I again, going to enjoy him a lot and watching him go. This is not a Gino Groover-esque pick. Obviously, Gino was a second rounder, but there's some similarities between the two, but I think the glove's a lot better for Sherman.
Yeah. Well, another high schooler off the board, going to be unfortunate for Oklahoma because he's probably going to be not making it to campus. But Savion Sims, who right there, he's top 100 for some people, maybe just outside for others. What are your thoughts on him? He's an older high schooler. He's already over 19.
This is premium art talent, man. He was 118 for us on our big board. And the biggest thing was, you look at it, he's 6'8", 210, high extension, high velo. He's been up to 100 in the past. And there's times this year where he would start off in the upper 90s, but then kind of tail off. So he's not necessarily a starter per se for me. But the fastball is legitimate. I would say it's plus to double plus just on velo alone, but it's so downhill that I just don't know how effective it can be when it comes to missing bats. But the command was the biggest issue this year for me, and the inconsistencies. I think he's a reliever, but the arm talent is undeniable. The Guardians know how to make use of arms like this. They don't have an issue with taking shots on big guys like this. They did it with Chase Mobley a couple years ago. So this is a really, really good pick for them. And even going past what we have here, Cade Atui, which I may have mispronounced that, but
thank you for taking that one.
Yeah, Florida Atlantic. This guy is interesting. He's got it's a low shot lefty with field to start. I think he's a reliever, but heavy sink on the fastball. He's been up to 92, has good feel for a really good changeup, and then also a decent breaking ball. So it fits the Boston Red Sox MO of going after these intriguing trait guys, and he's definitely one of them. And then obviously Joe Tiroli, Virginia, another Virginia kid off the board who comes in from where he transferred in from Ryder, if I remember correctly. Ryder. And didn't he beginning of the year was kind of rough, but he really got hot late in the year. Definitely a second baseman. He's really powerful, 6 foot 200. So there's not a ton of projection there. But you're going off of performance, and that's what Tiroli did. Brady Bollinger and Cole Triba as well. Bollinger, I thought was going to be a top 5 round pick a year ago, and here we are. It kind of just falls off. Yeah.
I mean, he was
really good.
He was Big 12 play. Him and Strauss-Snyder is who's going to be? It was him, Strauss-Snyder, Lepore is who's going to be the Big 12 player of the year. When you're talking about a guy with a career above 1,000 OPS, JUCO guy, 23 career home runs, but his best year was by far and away last year. Where he had a 1,200-ish OPS, 62 career, extra base hits. He's done a lot. He had a phenomenal weekend against Milwaukee where he went 7 for 11 with a home run and 8 RBIs. But I think there's just what position do you put him in? Is the athleticism there? I think there was just enough questions that it kind of makes sense for him to be going in this spot. But man, that was quite a run for you. You had 3 or 4 names back to back to back. We'll do a couple more here. The Cubs just took Cole Triba, 217 from UCSB. That's California Santa Barbara pitcher. And then Michael Harpster from East Tennessee State will be a New York Yankee going pick 218. Which one do you want to take? And I'll take the other.
So I will take Harpster if that's fine with you.
All right, I'll take Triba then. Go ahead with Harpster, and I'll tackle Triba off of that.
Sounds good. Harpster, really intriguing starter for Eastern Tennessee, or I guess East Tennessee State, not Eastern Tennessee, but same idea.
Close enough.
Yeah, he performed well last year. And the biggest thing that kind of stood out to me was, again, another low release guy with flat vertical approach angle, wider release. He has velocity there. He's probably a reliever at the next level, but when you're looking at it, been up to 95, so there's more velocity there than a year ago. The command kind of fell back a bit, but that's fine. You kind of take the traits with it. Really, really good sweeper, has feel for a solid changeup. I thought he was a little better than this, admittedly. I think I had him at towards the back end at the top 200, but this is about the range I expected him to go. This is a a 3-year starter with intriguing traits. And I think, again, the Yankees get a really solid value pick here.
Yeah, and on Cole Tribe, I mean, this is a guy that absolutely dominated Oregon. I think it was back in March. I think he threw 4 1/3. He had 6 Ks. He didn't give up a hit. He's a guy he's a really good Sierra, really good whip. He's not gonna let a lot of guys on. He's not a biggest pitcher. He's only 6'1" from Long Beach, California. So I mean, there's some things to like about it. 121 career innings pitched, nearly 170 Ks. So you like the K numbers, you like the volume, but I think this is going to be potentially a little bit of a value pick, but you're still going to be able to get a lot of production at this spot from Cole. Another pitcher going, pick 219 from Tennessee, Bo Rudy. Bo was one of the big portal pickups for Tennessee. I believe it was last year. I think he was he East Tennessee State, ETSU? Where was Bo from? Or was he Kennesaw? I can't remember.
Kennesaw, yeah. He took
he
he was the first guy that went up there. Tanner Franklin. He took the Tanner Franklin route.
Yeah. So 104 career innings pitched, 117 Ks on the mound. Again, you love that people just don't get on. 100 percentile K per walk, whip, Sierra. Like it's only 32 innings. So again, you're talking about just a reliever only type of guy. 6'4" guy out of Chickamauga, Georgia. Chickamauga, I don't know, something, somewhere in Georgia. So you're really excited for him. It was phenomenal for Tennessee out of the bullpen. Tennessee kind of struggled to find their footing a few times, but it always felt like Bo never really lost his. So he was always kind of that stalwart when it came to the bullpen for the Volunteers. Do you want to take Mr. Ryan Wynn, another Georgia? Georgia Tech just has a million shortstops, it looks like, because everyone is just labeled. You had Kersey, Avincula, Ryan Wynn, all labeling themselves as shortstops. They had 50,000 shortstops, buddy.
I think Ryan Wynn's a Georgia Bulldog, actually. I don't know what
it says Georgia Tech. You're right. He is.
Yeah.
What is going on there? I don't know. Yeah.
Anyways,
what in the one? It says Georgia Tech. I am not going crazy. I promise you, I'm staring at MLB.com. It says Georgia Tech right now. Yeah.
But
as soon as I said, I was like, what? This doesn't make any sense. Well, go ahead.
But yeah, I wanted to kind of build off of the Bo Rudy thing. This is when we're talking outlier fastballs, by the way, this is extreme cut ride, 2,700 RPMs of average spin. And that's just freakish. It's a super cut ride shape. There's a good slider there. When I saw him against ECU in that amazing elimination game that went 14 innings, or not even an elimination game, it was the first game of the day, actually. He had 3 or 4 shutout innings from the bullpen, struck out 4, walked none. So the fastball is amazing. It's really, really such a good pitch. And they go past that, Dean West from UCLA, who was just picked by the Toronto Blue Jays at 222. He's an interesting guy. He was leadoff for the guys all year. Not a ton of power. He had some home runs late in the year, but he's a good center field defenseman, or maybe you put him out there in center field too. He's got the speed for it, but he's definitely a top of the order guy. And then looking past that, Ryan Wynn, obviously, he's going to be tried out as a shortstop. I think that's a good way of putting it. And he's also a guy I think it was hit tool first over power, but he's a solid bat regardless of that Georgia team. Going past that, I am trying to figure out. They just have the name of the Brewers pick.
They don't even have a name. So we're gonna try to see. It just says Chelsea High School. So if anybody has the name of the pick, it just says it's a high school senior from Chelsea, Alabama. So that's all they have right now. Name is Grant Hill. Grant Hill. Thank you very much, Canes Heat. So let's pull up Grant Hill.
That is admittedly a name I've not heard of. So I'm gonna.
Let me go to my prospect board. Grant Hill. Let's see what I've got on Grant. They may be having to pull up GC. Yeah, I don't have anything. GC commit. Power forward, says Uncle Ted. Yeah, really played well for Duke. He was great. Power forward or small forward, would you say, Uncle Ted? I feel like he was more of a small forward. I don't know. He was tall. He was 6. Was he 6? He was 6'6", 6'9". He was somewhere in that 6'6" to 6'9". Don't judge me. We're not going to talk about basketball because I should know more, but I don't. Yeah, if he's a GCU, yeah, they're for sure pissed because, again, we're in kind of that funky zone where maybe – You never know. But again, if they're getting picked here, 99% chance they're going.
Yeah, and they also built up more on Ryan Wynn. Really good power actually this year. That was something I forgot about. Has more bat speed, approach. Definitely not as good as I thought it was, but looking at it, you're kind of banking on the power there. So that's a good get for them. Going off of what we're talking about, Grant Hill, GCU commit, been up to 93 this year. He's a big kid, 6'4", 200. Watching the film right now, really good changeup in the low to mid 80s. Has fuel for a slider. I think again, this is another thing where the Brewers are going after some of these traits. And watching some film here, it's a really good build. It's a low slot with a quick arm. Actually, it's an over top slot, but he gets really good extension. So I think we're looking at going after some extension guys with really intriguing secondaries, and that's exactly what Hill looks like. So shout out to the Brewers for finding a guy that makes me want to do some research.
Yeah.
So thank you guys
Hey,
for
while
keeping
we're
me on
doing
my
some
toes.
more, while we're doing some more research and we're catching up, I'll jump on Jason Jones, who's taking 225 because I got quite a bit on him. So pick 225. Yes, I know we're skipping 222, 223, 224. We'll get to those. Don't worry. We're just catching up as we were trying to find more info on Grant Hill. So Jason Jones, this guy, when he came out of Texas, everyone thought he was a top 5 perfect game guy. And he slid a little bit. He made it to Arkansas. People were like, hey, what is he going to do, Arkansas? He couldn't really find a spot. They tried to get him some run as a sophomore. As a junior, he went to Oklahoma State. He started really strong in Arlington, and he just kind of slipped back a little bit. It felt like he finally got it at Wichita State. So really excited for him, excited that he's being drafted again. I know this is not where he saw himself 4 years ago, going, 225 in the 8th. But, all you have to do is find that opportunity, and you'll be able to really take advantage of it. So that was Jason Jones to 225. Do you want to take our 222 pick?
That was Charlie West, no?
222 was Dean West from UCLA, 4-year junior outfielder, probably in that 370 range. So I didn't. If you don't have a lot on him, no worries. We can basically say best of luck to Dean. Sorry we can't grab all of these, but we're doing our best. The next one was Charlie West, last pick of the 7th round, 223 to the Los Angeles Dodgers. UConn Husky pitcher. This spot's it's where you're starting to get. He's a pretty young junior, not even 21 yet. So it'll be intriguing to see if he gets closer to that full value of the 260. So what are your thoughts on him if you got anything?
Yeah, he turned himself into a really solid draft prospect this year. I've got the data pulled up, but he had a lot of strikeouts this year, some walk issues, but it's a really, really good curveball, -10 IVB at 2,600 in the upper 70s. The fastball, he doesn't throw insanely hard, but it's a lot of carry. And then there's some feel for a changeup as well. So this is a solid pick. It's an interesting changeup too, because he is more of a splitter, in my opinion. It's super low spin, gets a little bit of kind of like the matching IVB to H or horizontal break. So it's kind of like that splitter where it kind of dives off the table. He's going to be interesting. I think he's a reliever. However, at the same token, like he was one of the 2 of the big UConn arms this year. Caden Stuckey was the other one who's now at Florida State, who I'm excited to see next year. So it's a really solid get for the Dodgers. I think there's something to be made out of that. Going past that, Hudson Barrett, and I apologize if I'm going to go long-winded here, but there's some intriguing guys I want to talk about here. Hudson Barrett came from UCSB, had some injuries after his freshman year that kind of limited him, but at the same token, he goes to Oklahoma State this year, found more success out of a starting rotation spot, but then got moved to the bullpen late. He's been up to 95 with a flat approach angle. The changeup's really, really good. So this is a guy that you take the gamble on and turn him into something, but I think he's a reliever because he was really just fastball changeup heavy. Going past that, you had talked about Jason Jones, Thomas Burns, really, really good stuff out of the bullpen for Texas. And he's interesting. It's a high slot guy, a lot of carry on the fastball, but then you kind of look at it, the walks are a big issue. He has a really good breaking ball as well. Going to go back and look at the Hansman kid from
Hansman.
Nationals.
He's from Evansville, so 200 plus career innings pitched, 213 Ks. He's a 4-year guy. Best game was probably against Belmont, where he had 7 Ks over 5 innings. He's kind of in that 75th to 80% for all the caper walk, FIP, whip, etc. And not too big, only like 6'1" from Elmhurst, Illinois. Not really on a lot of boards. So again, not trying to downplay anyone, but maybe a potential money saving opportunity here for
Yeah.
the Nationals. And then Alex Overbay, another Sun Devil, going pick 228
It's
to the
Lyle's kid.
Pirates. Yep, yep. You have anything on him? I'm
Yeah,
gonna
he
use the
was
restroom real
really
quick.
okay. That's fine. I'll go ahead and ring off some guys here while you use that. And going back in Hansman, this is he doesn't throw hard. It's more of a low 90s fastball with good extension traits, really good sweeper as well, and has feel for a changeup. So that's an interesting thing for Hansman. Going off of that, Alex Overbay, he's been up to 97. He was really good when I saw him against, I believe, Tennessee to start the year. Got moved into rotation shortly after. Has two good breaking balls. Again, Lyle's son, so he's really impressive. Excuse me. Garrett Wright, performer for Tennessee, came from Bowling Green a year ago. A very aggressive hitter. And the biggest thing that stood out to me was versatility. He can catch, he can play left field, he has a good arm. He threw out a guy against, if I remember correctly, VCU in the elimination game in Chapel Hill. So he's a solid guy. So Garrett Wright to the Angels at 229, 230. Will Plunkett to the Orioles is interesting because he was a guy that had helium late. And this is a big hit for Binghamton because Binghamton can find some really good talent at the Northeast level. And Plunkett really grew into it. He's a big physical kid from the right side, has some power to him. He can play shortstop. He might be a third baseman with the size, but he was a guy I liked really late in the cycle. In the town of Mamaroneck, if I pronounce that correctly, they have it's like a tiny house. He is the complete opposite build of that. So he's a very solid get for the O's. Will be probably overslot, but that is a solid pick regardless of what you think of the player. Aiden Weaver to the A's is just such an A's-coded pick. Aiden Weaver really struggled with command for the first 3 years and really this year too, but he took a really big chance to get into the rotation this year with Duke, stayed there, did well in the Friday roll, saw him against, I believe it was Virginia and Charlotte, and he shoved. He struck out 9. He walked 4, but he did really well. Big extension, big fastball, been up to 97, 98. The changeup is absolutely diabolical. The changeup has like 15 mile per hour of velocity separation and just tumbles away. So he's a really, really good get for the A's, and it just fits what they look for. He's a reliever, but it's stuff to work on. Good arm speed. I really like that pick a lot. Jacob Jarrell from Clemson is the next guy going to the Braves. He's a senior guy, so he's going to get more of a haircut here, but he hit the ball hard this year a lot more than previous years. He looked really, really solid for the Tigers. So this is going to be a money saver for them, and is a solid pick overall.
I mean, 44 career home runs. I mean, you love to see a dude who plays at one school for 4 years. So a 975 OPS last year, 66 extra base hits. He had a phenomenal weekend series versus Pitt where he had 3 bombs, went 10 for 14. One of my favorite things, he's got one of the best ISOs in the country, so 95th percentile. So he's a mashing catcher, which you always love to see. He wasn't really on a lot of boards, like you said, 6'1" catcher from Florence, South Carolina. He's an older guy. He's almost 24. So it's going to be a money saving pick. I mean, this is going to be the ones where you will see maybe a 5 to 4 digit signing bonus. Griffin Long, high schooler. Do you want to take that one? And then I can take Luke after that, sir.
Yes, absolutely. Griffin Long was one of my favorite arms in the class this year. Kennesaw State commit. He's in the mountains up there in Georgia. I believe it's Seronaville High School, but really intriguing arm. When you're looking at East Coast Pro Film a year ago, and he was up to like 93 with good fastball action. The changeup's a demonic pitch. It's like a high spin changeup with negative IVB, really good fade, knows how to pitch with it. It's a really, really good arm in general. And if you're Kennesaw State, kind of hurts a little bit. But Long was really good at the combine. He was one of my favorite arms in this class. And so going to the Rays at 233 is a solid get. I'll let you talk about Luke Harrison, but do want to note he pitched today for Team USA at the Collegiate National Team little tournament they're having in Taiwan. So it's interesting to see him getting drafted here, but solid pitchability guy.
Yeah, it's interesting that Team USA was taking some 4-year guys, and they also took the shortstop from Georgia, whose name for some reason is escaping me. We're saying Colby so many names. Colby Branch, thank you. I reached out to Georgia coaches like, why in the world? Because they usually never take they usually take non-draft eligible players. So it was weird to finally see draft eligible players. I will get to, I know you want to jump on the next player, so I'll take Luke quickly. Luke was one of my favorite pitchers for them last year. So I mean, I know they had Volantis, I know they had a lot, but it felt like Luke Harrison was kind of like their stalwart. Really loved what he did with them. Again, over 200 innings pitched in his career, 214 Ks. He had 5 2/3 versus Georgia, where he had 11 Ks. So he's really been able to produce, again, a 90 percentile Sierra guy. So a big 6'2" pitcher from Friendswood, Texas. So excited for him. And I will let you jump on the always mentioned Mr. Sasaki going 235 to the Marlins.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting to follow
Surprising.
for anybody.
I wouldn't sign if I were him, but that's surprising.
Yeah, speaking of the devil, Kobe Branch, we were just talking about him, and now he's been picked. So 2 USA Collegiate National Team guys have been drafted in the past 4 picks. But I want to talk about Sasaki because made the decision to go from Japan to the US, went to Stanford because he was trying to find ways to get to MLB ball without having to go through the posting system at the MPB. But then gets taken in the first round of the MPB draft this year and has the option to go back to Japan to take that. But he's taken in the 8th round by the Marlins, and this is interesting because he had a better year statistically, like hit for more power. The chase rate got better, and when I saw him, you can definitely see what you like. He's a big guy, 6'1", 270. He's a first baseman, true and true. But it's going to be fascinating to see what he does here because the slot value here is 239.2. The biggest thing, if I remember correctly from the MPB draft, is they do still hold his rights. So we'll see what happens. But this is a fascinating pick to follow. And I'm intrigued to see what they do there. Paul Schoenfield also gets drafted to the D-backs. That was a center fielder for West Virginia. And he's a really, really good defender, 5th-year senior. The bat improved this year. Kobe Branch, obviously. He is in Taiwan right now. He is the captain of the USA Collegiate team, which they had to find guys to replace some guys. Like Dylan Volantis was admittedly going to go, pulled out late. They got Kobe Branch. Luke Harrison goes because Sam Cozart had an injury, so I hope they all get better. But Kobe Branch, impressive year. Obviously, everybody's going to remember the final at-bat, his home run against his brother, and they were sharing them together, which is awesome. He did well at USA last week during the tryouts, made the team, is going to be the captain. So he's interesting. 2 more relievers that I'm going to touch on before I get too long-winded. Cody Brash at Louisiana Lafayette is an interesting arm. Super long arm swing, throws hard, been up to 99 this year, has a really good breaking ball, moved to the rotation late. He's a really intriguing guy to look at release trait-wise, so that's a solid pick for the Giants. Hunter Poschel, I may have mispronounced that, but Florida Gulf Coast gets another arm taken, 6'8", 245, doesn't throw hard. Giant dude. It's a huge sinker with a really intriguing horizontal axis manipulation. Like gets a lot of horizontal on the sinker, gets a lot of horizontal on the sweeper. So this is a guy that's really funky, low slot guy. Intriguing pick for the Royals. I do like him a lot. He made the board late. And then Landon Koenig is a rotation candidate for the Mets. Threw a lot of strikes this year. Another big kid, came from North Dakota State, 6'6", 245. Throws really, really hard. If I remember correctly, he touched 99 this year with a good breaking ball. He has a deep pitch mix, throws strikes. I think there's a chance that he can make the jump to the rotation for the Mets in some capacity. So, I'll go back to Jason on this one if you want.
No, you did great. There were just a couple of portal kids. So Paul Schoenfeld was a D2 kid. So that was one of the great West Virginia pickups that went D2 to D1 and really showed out. Kobe Branch was an old Baylor Bear who went to Georgia a few years back. He's one of the oddities of a multi-year portal player, and it was odd because you had a Colby Branch and a Cody Brash pretty much back to back. So effectively, almost if you were to squint real hard, it looks like almost the exact same names when you're staring on the screen. So just kind of an oddity. And then talk about another phenomenal. We were just talking about Omaha and how well Colby did. Aaron Pisecki for Troy. What a run he went on. So he just went pick 241 to the Houston Astros. Do you want to talk on Aaron, or would you like me to jump on him?
I can touch on him. We can both kind of break him down here. He's a small guy, 5'10", 187, but the hit tool is legit. As much as he's a senior, you're going to get some discount here. The hit tool is really really good. I think he ran like a 90% contact rate this year and just covers everything in the zone. He's been drafted as a shortstop. I don't know if he's a second baseman or a shortstop, but that Troy team this year, he was one of the bigger catalysts in that lineup. He was one of the better seniors. Obviously that Jimmy Chinicki being in that club is fantastic. And unfortunately, he was hurt last week when I saw him at USA, so I didn't get to see him play. But Troy's in good hands with Skylar Meade, and having Chinicki back is going to be impressive. So this is I would say a pretty big moment for Troy. I can't remember the last time they had like a top 10 round guy, so I have to look into that. But Piasecki is a very, very good bat.
Yeah, Paiseki, he came from Central Michigan, so another really good portal pickup for Troy. Excited for them. Talking about a guy with a career OPS around 900, 923. His best season was last year, which is great to see. 971. He had a great weekend versus Ball State where he had a couple of bombs. And talking about another portal multi-year guys, we just talked about Colby Branch. Brady Neal from Alabama goes pick 242 to the Cincinnati Reds. I remember when Brady came out of LSU as a true freshman, it was a real kind of coup because they had Aaron Beatty coming in, and it was kind of like, who's going to be playing? His first year at Alabama wasn't really kind of the year he expected. He really carried that offense last year. I guess this year you could say, trying to not get the years confused. But yeah, so in 2026, if there was, it was him, it was Hines, and it was at times LeBron when they were playing a non-SEC opponent, and LeBron would show up. So ultimately, really excited for Brady Neal. The question is, he's labeled as a catcher here. He played a lot of right field for them as well. I think he's got a little bit of uniqueness to where his position will end up going. But ultimately, today, he's a left-handed kid who can hit. He's not the biggest catcher in the world. So I'll be intrigued to see where he goes with that. And after him, Matt Scott from Georgia. We were talking previously about Bird and kind of like how the stalwarts of the bullpen. Matt Scott is another one of those guys for Georgia last year. It was another kind of like, where does he go? Is he going to be a bullpen guy? Is he going to be a starter? He also came over from Stanford. Him and Joey Volchko. They plucked both of those guys out of Stanford. When he came over, he was an elite player coming out of the portal. I think this is a little bit lower than what you would have anticipated for Matt Scott a few years ago. I know a lot of people had him almost even potentially in the first round a few years ago. So this is going back to, again, the same thing with Canuck, the same thing with Johnson. If you would have told me that Matt Scott would have been going 243 a few years ago, I would have pinched you. So would not have expected it. Pick 244. We got Josh I'm got Volmerding. That's my best way, and apologies if I butchered it. And another Cal Poly, another Bronco. So again, they had a phenomenal, and it was their pitching. It was their pitching that really. It's the Broncos, right? Cal Poly Broncos. I feel like I remember seeing like a
Mustangs.
horse.
I think it's Mustangs.
Mustangs. Thank you. I knew it was a horse. I'm visualizing like their mascot, but as soon as I said Broncos, like that feels off. So thank you for the assist. The assist from Mr. Tyler there. So, and then the last one, I'll just touch on Fitzmagic here, who just went pick 245. So this Sean Fitzpatrick. I want to make sure it's I think it's the individual I think he is. So he was a transfer from Arkansas, and it was when he was a freshman. He's a smaller guy. He's not the biggest pitcher in the world. Let me make sure I'm talking about the correct guy as I'm going. Yep. So it says he's listed at 6. He's listed at 6'1". I don't believe it. Maybe that's right, but he's a smaller guy. There was a game where Arkansas lost their DH, and they wouldn't thought that they were going to get to Fitzmagic, and he put on a helmet, and it was one of the best pictures I've ever seen because it was this long, flowing, blonde-haired kid with a helmet on, and everyone was giving a hard time. But really excited, quirky lefty. He's going to be going pick 245 coming out of Arizona State. I just went on a run for 4. Do you want to talk about any of those?
Yeah, absolutely. And great job on your end too, by the way. So Volmerding, again, probably mispronounced that, but again, Cal Poly kid. Cal Poly, again, had a lot of really good arms. This is a low slot lefty. He averaged 92.1, but he got hit up a ton because he was just throwing too many balls over the zone. But intriguing traits, the flat approach angle, the fastball isn't going to miss a ton of bats. It's more of a sinker type, so he's going to get ground balls from it. But gets a lot of chase. He expands his zone a lot for hitters. And then also the sweeping slider is impressive. He can back foot it to guys. It's a lot of horizontal. So he's more likely than not a reliever. And you're kind of taking him to save some money here. But he's a 3-year junior, if I remember correctly. And, looking at it, this is a solid get for the Red Sox at this range. And Robert Omidy going to the Detroit Tigers, this is a big get for the Tigers on the high school side. So the Canadians are really good this year. Like they obviously had Sean Duncan drafted last night, and there are some other Canadians that have been drafted today. But Omidy was one of my favorites. I had him somewhere in like the 120s, so I value him a lot higher than some other folks. But seeing him last year at area codes, the kid can hit. The raw power and BP, the ability to cover the zone. Elliot LaSales was another guy that could really hit for that Canadian team. So there's 3 noteworthy Canadians that have been taken, and with Omidy, I think he's more of like a second baseman, third base type, but he's going to hit. He's absolutely going to hit.
So this is my shot in the dark, but we talked about 99.2%. If there's a team that could maybe get him, almost Tyler Bell-esque, it would maybe be Kentucky. He's a Kentucky commit. Again, he's a guy that I think this is later than he really wanted to go. Mm-hmm. And he's in the what's the slot value right now? Like low 200s, 225. I feel like his number has to be at least 500. So, like, are they going to be able to match that? Is this maybe like Detroit? Because Detroit also, they'll lose the value of the slot, but this may be one of the things that's like, hey, can we pitch 300 at you and see if maybe we can get you, because they're going to be trying to save some money. So if there is ever maybe me trying to take a shot in the dark of a team, maybe trying to snag a guy, it's usually like Florida and Kentucky. Somehow those 2 teams seem to always keep the guys in those 10 rounds. So just a shot in the dark on this one of I would take him off of your board, but I would also like maybe have a thought process of maybe potentially the next 2 guys going in, a couple of 4-year pitchers. Well, I guess Luke could be a 2-year player out of Dallas Baptist as well. We got Lance Williams out of Maryland going 247. He is going to be headed up to Chicago to play for the Cubs. And then Luke Petit, who is going from DBU, who will be, and I assume it's Petit, it may be Pettit, since it's a double.
Yeah.
Wow, that's terrible. Clip that. How much? We're 2 hours and so Andy Petit, he's got a really good left-handed pickoff move. He's pretty good. He may play for the Yankees one day. He got picked by the Yankees. How fantastic is that?
Yeah.
Thank you. Wow. I also appreciate you not shitting on me relentlessly as soon as I said petite. So lovely. I will sit in my corner and be petite as you talk about these 2.
So I want to touch on the Tigers, like you mentioned about Omidy. They do have a lot of guys that I feel like are going to sign for underslot. Like Cam Fluke is going to get probably something under $4 million. LeBlanc, Dempsey, Dahl, Maloney, Bollinger, they're going after guys that I feel like are going to be underslot guys. So Omidy is going to get a pretty fancy check, I feel like, from the Tigers. Like you mentioned, probably $500K, so we'll see what happens. Dominic Pellegrin from Holy Cross, who's a Tulane commit, who was a 4th-round pick last night for the Tigers, probably gets one as well. He was doing really well on the Appy League stage, if I remember correctly, or he was the draft league. I can't remember, but I want to touch on that before we kind of talk about some of these guys. And going to go on a bit of a run, admittedly, but Lance Williams goes from ECU to Maryland. He's from the Maryland area, so he went home. Big fastball, been up to 98. I know Jared has seen him a couple times, and the command's scattered, but he's a good relief project to kind of look after. Andy Pettit's son, Luke, going to the Yankees, obviously. He's been drafted as a 2-way player. What's interesting is he was a pitcher at DBU. He had an elbow injury last year. I saw him the first weekend of the year, but then he blew out. So he had TJ this year, wasn't able to pitch, but he's a pitchability guy with good breaking balls, has the velo there. And then also he can match. He did a really, really good job with the bat in his hand this year. He had a lot of power to go off of. So he's a very intriguing guy to look at as a 2-way. So I wonder what the Yankees do of that, but we'll see what happens when he comes back from surgery. Wyatt Denniclaus, he was, I believe, a rotation guy for the Cardinals this year, and he was actually really solid for a couple weeks. He's a left-handed hitter, or left-handed pitcher rather. We're 2.5 hours into this basically, but it's a good fastball, has field to spin. It's a really solid profile. I think he's a reliever, but he's a senior sign, so he's good. Mason Eckelman was a late guy that we put it on the board. This is Ohio State catcher, and as much as we've kind of like given Ohio State some tough times today with the guys that have gone off on them, Justin Hare has done a great job of developing talent there in the
I got so
2
much
to
better
3
this
years.
year. So much
Yeah,
better this year.
they did so well. They do a really good job there, and they've gotten better. Elkelman, very selective hitter, doesn't miss the ball at all. There's some decent power in there. He's going to be a catcher. His dad, if I remember correctly, is the VP of hitting with the Guardians as well. So you kind of see connections there. So some bloodlines. Going after that, I got to kind of look at Kellen Tom here because I don't know this Corona del Sol team very well for the Brewers. But Jake Bennett, another guy who can hit the ball hard for DBU, catcher. And while we kind of figure that out, I'm going to see what I can find on Kellen Tom. So if you want to take over, feel free.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I just echo what you said on Ohio State. Like they had 20 plus guys going to the portal, 25. So they had so much to turn over. I mean, one of them was like Gravelin in West Virginia. So the fact that they were able to really turn it around and have a kind of resurgent year is just like kudos to them in that program. So, like Kellen Tom out of Tempe, Arizona, he was an Arizona State commit. So you do feel a little bad for the Sun Devils that the expectation is probably that he's going to be going pro. Fastball velo, I only have him in about like low 90s. I don't know if you've seen anything a little bit higher on that. So a pitcher, a little bit of not the biggest pitcher in the world, maybe like 6'2". He's a bigger 6'2" though than like 6'2", 210. So righty out of that Corona del Sol. So you have him, and then you've got Jake Bennett, so another DBU player. DBU didn't really have the season that they wanted to, but Jake, again, there's sometimes where you just don't really expect players to be going. This is where I expected Jake to be going a few years ago. So, but still excited for him to be going to the Toronto Blue Jays. And then Miles Gastola, a big Oregon pitcher this year, guys. I mean, we already talked about Scolari earlier there. He was one of our first picks of today's draft. So a couple of more pitchers off of the Oregon area. You're excited for him. You're excited for that program. You're excited for Waz, what he's able to do. And then Tanner Segos. So Tanner, I don't know how to put Segosby. Apologies. I think he came from Cal Poly, if I remember correctly. He was one of the first transfer portal players going from 25 to 26 when he went to TCU. He was a really good relief pitcher when he came there. He still had a pretty good season for TCU, going pick 254, round 9 to the Colorado Rockies. I will pass it over to you now that you've had a moment to think.
Thank you. Yeah, Kellen Tom's actually a decent one to go after. Segosby, again, pronounce it wrong probably, but he's a solid guy, grad guy. TCU has some really good bullpen arms. He's one of them, a good fastball. So the Rockies are going after fastball quality here, so I like it. To answer a question that Canes had in the comments here about area codes and the players that get drafted, I know the White Sox have a tendency to go after guys like that. Landon Tomei obviously played for the White Sox area code team last year. Thank you, Mike, for pronouncing that properly for us. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Mike.
So we appreciate
Saguspi. Okay.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like Chalewski. So we're like Rob Manfred last night. So, but yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, the area codes teams obviously too. Like when we're going to go off to the second question here, they have the scouts actually coach these guys. So the scouts get to work with the players. There's scouts from multiple teams. I know Rock Tulowski's dad, his dad Dan was part of the Reds team. So it's interesting to kind of look at that. I got to do more research on that, but I know the White Sox are pretty heavy off of that area codes team. So I just wanted to put that out there while we had the chance. Luke Crater actually, I believe, in the portal, but Virginia Tech senior sign going to the White Sox. So he's an interesting guy. He's been up to the 97, 98, if I remember correctly. Could be mistaken on that, but if you know more about him, please do, because I don't think I saw him this year.
So is he in the portal? I don't see him in the portal. He came from the portal. He came from Lafayette.
Okay.
He's a 4-year. Yeah, he's a 4-year kid. 120 plus innings pitched, almost 140 Ks on the mound. His best last year was probably Rutgers. I mean, I didn't have a phenomenal year, frankly, last year, but 3 2/3 versus Rutgers, where he had 4 Ks. Only a couple of hits allowed, but his Sierra was 87th percentile. OPS allowed was 85th percentile. So a pretty big kid, 6'5", righty out of Charlottesville, VA. 4-year kid. I think this is going to be probably one that's going to be a little bit of a money saver just because of where we're at. And it's not meant to ever be a dog on a kid. It's just kind of the reality. Once they get beyond 22 and they have 4 years of data and you're in this round, it's just what happens. It's just going to be a money saving opportunity for coaches. Cashel Duggar out of UCLA, another catcher, 6'2" kid out of Castle Pines, Colorado, 3-year kid, no transfer. And again, you'd love to see it for UCLA. This is another one of those guys that came from that very talented, perfect game class a few years ago with Rock Chalewski, as they call him nowadays. His best season, though, I mean, he has a career OPS of 739. He's going to be a guy that's going to be more of a primary defensive catcher. His best weekend was probably versus Maryland. I mean, and still then he only had just north of 1,000 OPS. So you don't really like that his ISO's a little bit lower. You know, he didn't have a good end of the season where he only had like a 580 OPS in May and June. So there were a lot of things that are flagging for this, but you do see the catcher ability within this pick. Then JT Rab, which is a big dude out of the Northeast. So I'm sure we wish we would have. And then our Trey Phelps just went pick 258, but I don't know if you want to talk on JT first.
Yeah, obviously Jared would be happy. He's seen GT a couple of times at Georgetown, and even to go off of like Cashel Duggar, very, very good catch and throw abilities. Hit tool is actually impressive. Like there's not a ton of power there. It never has been. He's like an atypical catcher type, but he's a guy that is going to be defense hit tool first. And then going after like JT Rab, obviously throws pretty hard as well. Been up to 96, 97. Actually put together a really solid year for Georgetown. So wanted to touch on him. Georgetown doesn't always get a lot of hype, but shout out to Jared for getting them hype because they deserve it. JT Rab's a solid arm. Trey Phelps, again, this is a really good
value shock for me.
Yeah, for the Pirates, they're probably going to give him a little more money than I think he's going to get. And that's mainly because of the performance, you know, but again, they drafted him as a third baseman. I think he's a second baseman, admittedly, just watching the defense, but he can hit, he's going to mash. The bat has always been the carrying profile there. So he's a really, really solid get for them at this value. I think we had him in like the 120, 140 range, if I remember correctly. I guess, yeah, he had a 149. So he's his solid get here. And then, going farther down the board here, Trevor Hansen to the Angels at 259 is a solid get. Trevor Hansen been to UC Irvine. He's been in the rotation for like 3 years, if I remember correctly. I think he was. And with him, like he had more velocity this year. Been up to 95. The breaking ball really plays out of the vertical slot that he has, so he gets a lot of backspin on the fastball. The curveball is a deaf-view pitch, and then also has feel for a changeup. So he's really good. Colin McKinney out of Arizona came from Baylor, if I remember correctly.
He did. That is correct.
Pitched last year for them. Kind of an intriguing guy. He's been more out of the bullpen, but he's been up to 97 out of the past. Has a good breaking ball. Command can be scatter shot, but he is a solid arm regardless. And I think this is a pretty solid get for them. But he's gonna come in at underslot, if I remember correctly. But also Liberty, Tanner Marsh. This is
Liberty. What a season for the Flames. What a season.
They did incredibly well. They pitched their butt off in the Georgia Regional too. Like I don't think we give them enough credit for how well they did. Cooper Harrington's going to be back next year from what I remember. I don't think he's in the portal, but this is a kid that's like 6'2", but gets 7 feet of extension because he's just ridiculous. But Tanner Marsh, like people went to go see Ben Blair this year. He was a second rounder last night to the Rays, if I remember correctly. And Tanner Marsh he's such a good glove. Watching his film the other week and getting him written up on our board, there's a no doubt chance that if he gets to the pro level, he's a defensive replacement at shortstop off the bench. The bat's light. He can hit, but he gets blown up by velo a little bit. Doesn't have a ton of power, but you're drafting the glove here, so this is a very solid get for the A's. And then going past that, Parker Brocious does get selected by the Braves, and Monty Taylor will tell you post-graduation, Parker Brocious is the best player on the planet. I agree with that. Like that kid went on such a tear after he graduated that it's more power of him, in my opinion, but he did enough at the end of the year to get the selection. He goes to hometown Braves. Like he stayed for 4 years and didn't get much playing time. Goes into the lineup after graduation and hits like 11 bombs in like 2 weeks.
He had a 1,300 OPS for them last year. almost
Yeah,
14.
it's
Silly.
ridiculous. So he went from a non-draft prospect to, hey, he's the ninth round selection for the Braves, staying home. That's a really, really
He's just
solid
never
kid.
leaving the state. He's from Sewanee. He went to Georgia
Nope.
Tech. Now he's going for the. He just never see the world. I'm sorry, Parker. You'll just be staying within the confines of Georgia for the entirety of your life. I kind of want to talk about Trey Phelps for a second. I know we got to go quickly here, but that was surprising for me. Maybe we can talk about it at the end because I mean, he's kind of in that 170 range. He's a 214 signing bonus. Like, geez, I don't know. That one's surprising for me to be taking there, especially within the top 10 rounds. Like, I don't think they'd want to lose that 200,000. But Ty Jones from Jackson Academy, Mississippi, going round 9, number 263 to the Tampa Bay Rays, not to be confused with the Devil Rays. Do you have anything on Mr. Jones?
Yes, this is a center field prospect out of Jackson Academy. If I remember correctly, it's the same school as Kevin Roberts. I could be mistaken on that.
Yeah,
And then if you think about it, that school has obviously driven out some talent the past couple of seasons. Sorry, Kevin Roberts went to Jackson Prep, so I'm thinking of the wrong school, but same area. Like, this is a kid that he can play some center field, and realistically, like, looking at it, he's a McLennan JUCO kid, so he's committed there, super young for the class, 17 and 10 right now, 6'3", 205, has a good swing. But you're drafting the defense here. I think he's a really solid kid overall. So I'm interested to see what happens. But he's big, he's bulky, has some power to him, and can play center field. Going past that,
Jaden Lobliner from San Diego.
Yeah, I don't know much about Lobliner, so if you have more on him than I do, feel free to talk about him.
I'm trying to remember specifically which weekend that he had. So he's a catcher. Again, he's a 4-year guy. He came from Kansas State. He went to San Diego. He's a transfer. His best season was last year. Again, his OPS maybe in like the 900 ranges, if I can remember correctly. He went insane versus Gonzaga. I think he was like 11 for 15 in that weekend, something like that. He had 3 bombs. He had an OPS like in the 2300s. So, I mean, he went absolutely nuts that weekend. You're a little worried in his like conference stats. Only 3 of his 10 home runs came in conference, and which is like 1 every 33 at bats or so. His ISO was in like the 86th percentile. He did pretty well on the road. He actually did better on the road than really he did at home. But you're really excited to see. He's a little bit of a smaller catcher. I think he's like 5'10" from St. Charles, Illinois. So again, maybe a guy that's like defense over offense, maybe glove over hit, or glove over bat, as you want to say. But I do think that the bat is potentially there.
Good to know.
Okay,
good to know.
going on. Nick Tolbert.
That is
Go
a
ahead.
good get.
Yeah.
This is a good get. If I remember correctly, he's like a middle infielder. Or who did they draft him as?
They listed him as third base, which is surprising.
Yeah, but this is a kid that has some pretty solid power to him, and looking at it from a standpoint of, if I remember correctly, he is committed to. Let me bring it up here.
Wichita State.
Wichita State. So yeah, this is a guy they're going to sign pretty easily. He's a big kid, 6'5", 202. He has a lot of power, a lot of left-handed power. It's a long swing, good loft. He's been at 2 different schools in Oklahoma, but at the same token, like, he might be a first baseman, just given the size. Maybe you put him in the outfield, but you're buying the power here. If I remember correctly, just thinking about how much he hit, 60 home runs in his high school career is insanely impressive. I don't care where you play in high school. So
nuts.
That is, you're going after power there. Chris Katz, by the way, Raleigh, North Carolina legend. If I remember correctly, he went to Heritage High School, so he's local for me. 5th-year senior.
Another Mercer man.
Yeah, he came from Wake Forest, went to Mercer, had a fantastic year. He's 6'2", 210. He's being drafted as a first baseman. I think that's probably where he ends up. He had really good raw power when I saw him at Wake Forest, and it's solid that he went to Mercer. Again, I wish Mercer made the tournament, but
1,300 OPS at Mercer. He went nuts versus Columbia. Went 8 for 14 with 2 bombs. Yeah.
Really,
and after him, you had Caden Carpenter out of Utah Valley. This is another portal guy. Stayed within Utah. He went from Utah to Utah Valley out of the 2025 portal. Had a really good year for Utah Valley. Had a near 1,200 OPS as a career, like 30 home runs, somewhere in that ballpark. 4-year guy went nuts versus CSUSB this year. He went that's Cal State, Santa Barbara. Yeah, and I mean, really, like maybe what you would love is his weighted run created was phenomenal on the year. Again, the OPS was great. ISO was fantastic. So he's got a ton of pop. 85 extra base hits in his career. That's pretty nuts. So a guy from American Fork, Utah, went from Utah to Utah Valley. Big kid, 6'4", right-handed, right fielder. Where did they put him at? So yeah, they put him outfielder.
Yeah.
Jump to the next one. Mike Mancini. This guy, he had such a great career at Vanderbilt, but he was a portal player. I think he was a 2-year. Yeah, he came from James Madison 2 years ago, but he was at Vandy for both years, if I remember correctly. Career some odd 900 OPS hitter, 36 career home runs. Another 4-year guy, north of 1,000 OPS. Went nuts for Texas A&M this year. You love to see the power from where did they put him at? Yeah, I was about to say they should put him at second base. They did put him at second base. So really like to see that. A New York kid, again, another really productive player, nearly 80 extra base hits in his career, 4-year guy. And then you go to Cam Johnson, another one of these guys that really shined for Oklahoma late in the season where it felt like, what were they going to do? Another portal kid. So this is one of those. Yeah. Go ahead. What do you have on Cam?
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. Like this is a big deal. We had Johnson as a top 100 prospect in this class, and there's a lot of athleticism. It's a really, really good runner, has been growing into power. He was at Wichita State last year and had a really good year on the Cape. And the biggest thing is that there's just a lot of tools to like there. I think him and Brendan Brock were really intriguing in terms of like the tools that they had on this team. So to see him go in the 9th round is intriguing. It's great value for the Royals if you sign him. Probably he's going to command a little bit more than slot, but like this is a guy I absolutely love. So seeing him drafted here is fun. And then following up him with another Cal Poly Mustang, Ryan Taman.
Mustang, not a Bronco.
Yes, have to put that out there. But Taman's interesting. He never really played a ton at Cal. Goes to Cal Poly, and he was the backstop this year. And I think he can catch going forward. But the bat's been the calling card. He had a lot more power this year. Now having that full-time responsibility, the hit tool is a little bit iffy, but he hits inside the zone very well. This is a guy that I personally enjoyed. I'm probably the high man on him on the public scale, but Taman was a really solid get for the Mustangs. I almost said Broncos, but this is a good get for them. This is a very solid kid.
It's I don't know the biology behind, but they're effectively that's the same animal. Like, come on, I mean, it's the same.
Yeah.
Thing. Okay. Yeah. All right. Moving forward, we got Ryan Pruitt, round 9, going to the Houston Astros out of South Florida. This is going to be another. I think he was a JUCO kid, but he went to South Florida. He's played 2 years at South Florida. 5'11" out of Trophy Club. It said Trophy Club, Texas. Not great career numbers. 100 plus games somewhere in there. Only like a career 750 OPS guy. His best season was actually 2 years ago, where it was like 770 at South Florida. So he plays center field. So this guy's definitely going to be more of a defensive attribute than an offensive attribute. Only 6 career home runs. I mean, really his best weekend was probably against Georgia Southern, where he went a home run. So I would say this is going to be a money-saving defensive opportunity. And talking about another outfielder that is probably he's more bat than glove. He's more bat than glove, but he doesn't have pop. And that's Damian Ruiz, who just went pick 272 to the Cincinnati Reds. He is an Arkansas Razorback, came from the portal from Lamar. He had, I think, 400 at Lamar, where I think he was he the Southland Player of the Year? Or is it Big South? I can't remember whichever conference Lamar is in. I know South is in the
Southland, name, so
yeah. Southland. Yeah, as soon as I said Southland, it sounded odd, but I couldn't remember. But I'm pretty sure he was a Southland Hitter of the Year, Player of the Year, whatever you want to call it, in 2025, where he hit over 400. He went to Arkansas, highly touted portal kid. He started it the entire season when he wasn't injured. They played him in right, they played him in left, they played him in center. He kind of played all over. Never really had a true offensive position, but he just got on, or a defensive position, but he just got on base. Like you're not going to see a ton of pop from him. You're going to see a very steady bat, very steady eye. You're going to see a guy who tries to put bat on ball, tries to get line drives. he'll hit one out of the park. He'll pull one, but you're not really going to see a lot of oppo power to right field. So he's a righty. So happy to see him going 272 to the Reds. Then you got Mario Pesca out of Oklahoma State.
Big kid.
Do you have? Yeah, you take over Mario. I'll let you take him.
Yeah, I'll take Mario and also this next pick, because this is also
You got
another big deal in the ninth.
Nice.
But Pesca, well, he came from St. John's, if I remember correctly. He's a Bronx kid, 6'8", really, really big kid, but he was a really solid bullpen / rotation guy. He kind of split time there. He's been into the low 90s consistently with a sinker to his fastball, good extension. The breaking ball he throws quite a bit. It's a slider with -10 IVB, so he gets quite a bit of, horizontal, so he gets good sweeping action on it. Probably a reliever, but he did pitch pretty well for the Cowboys this year. 80 strikeouts, 72 thirds innings, only walked 31, but obviously, like, you do want a little bit more out of that. But he's a solid kid regardless. Like, it's a good value get. And then you look at Martin Scheller, who comes to the Boston Red Sox in the 9th round. This is a kid we had somewhere in the top, 120 selections on our board. Huge right-handed power. I think I made the comp of, like, this is like a Drew Burris kid, or like the same kind of prototype where it's power oriented. Burris had definitely a better hit tool at this range than Scheller, and that's kind of why he fell. Like, Scheller's hit tool was a big question mark among scouts, but he just mashes the baseball, and he can play right field. He's a really solid runner as well. So there's a lot of power to his game on both sides of the ball. And I think if you're the Red Sox here, you're pretty happy about that. I think they're going to give him a pretty good lump sum of change here, especially when you see what they did day one. Obviously getting Schaffner, Hull, which, shout out to Spencer Brown. I believe he is going to be the signing scout for both of those guys. And Spencer does a great job in the Carolinas. I believe has Virginia now too, so he's got a lot of real estate to cover. So I got to give a shout out to the scout on that one, and then also getting Jace Matazinski as well. So I think there's going to be a pretty good overage here for Scheller. And then Benjamin Stubbs from Troy, one of the better
Another
arms
Troy joining Paiseki. Yeah, so
Yes,
he goes
sir.
275 to the Padres. You're talking about it. So he was a portal get for Troy out of Flagler. So he was a Troy and a number of programs they really built up on the portal. So excited for him. 4-year kid, tons of numbers, over 220 innings pitched, 240 plus Ks. He looked phenomenal against Georgia Southern on the year, had 12 Ks over 7 innings pitched. Again, you're talking about a guy maybe not phenomenal when it comes to the K per walk or the whip, but you're talking about a guy who's done it for 4 years straight. He's done it over a ton of volume from Macon, Georgia. Not the biggest guy, maybe 5'11", 6 foot, somewhere in that ballpark. So you're not really looking. He's a lefty, so maybe you could try to get some like quirkiness to it. But again, like, you're just going to be the guy who's been there, done that, bought the T-shirt out of Ben Stubbs. So really excited for him. Really excited for the Troy program that he's able to make it to the Padres, pick 275. Then you got Kenneth Ward out of Park University, Gilbert. Do you have anything on Kenneth that you want to talk about?
So very clearly not a D1 guy, goes to Park University, Gilbert out in Arizona, but big kid, 6'5". I think he's listed as a 6'5", 255, 5th-year senior out of there, and there's a good fastball there. He's thrown a good amount of strikes as well, 52 strikeouts and 40 in the third innings this year, only walked 15, and a lot of those were pretty solid. Like, he had a really good outing against Texas Wesleyan, so I believe this is D2. Embry-Riddle, yeah.
I think they're NAIA. You're talking about Park University?
Oh, yeah, this is, because Hope International's there.
I think they're NAIA, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. So this is definitely a pick I'm not too familiar with, but at the same token, like, if this is what the Detroit Tigers are doing, they're going to give them some underslot here. Some more pitchers coming off the board as well. Chase Meyer, by the way.
I can talk on him if you'd like for me to, and then you can get the next. I know you got NC State on lockdown, but you can pull up David as well. So Chase, this is a guy that, if you look at his numbers and his stuff, it's elite. But I think at the end of the day, like, I mean, you also have to look a little bit at a guy who was effectively kicked off West Virginia after the first couple of weeks into the season. So he went into the portal. He's in the portal right now. He's committed to Arizona State. But again, 99% chance. That means he's going to be drafted. It's interesting. Like, they have the pictures of these guys, and it says Chase Meyer, West Virginia, but he's wearing an MLB hat. So that's interesting to see. But I mean, you're talking about guys over 70 career inning pitch. he's got stuff for days, like for days. If he's able to put it all together, I think this is a remarkable value pick. Remarkable value pick. It's just
Yeah.
can he put it together?
Yeah, he was definitely one of the top relievers coming into the year, and I think he was going to get a shot in rotation too. But
Oh, he
had
was
a
there
later.
Friday night guy. He was there Friday
What
night
he
guy.
was? Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
shows how much I paid attention to the early part of the year for them. But this is a intriguing pick. Like obviously, he spins the ever loving hell out of the baseball, and there's a lot of velo there. So we'll see what happens with, like you said, got kicked off that team, essentially gone to what Arizona State in the portal. Still more pitchers coming off the board here, but I want to talk about David Leslie, Consiglio, and then Drew Whalen. Leslie, when you're looking at Pittsburgh, he came from D3. He was I think it was strikeout Jesus or D3 Jesus for that team. But the way that Mike Bell kind of talked about him after the ACC tournament, they made that big run into the semifinals. He was their epitome of Pittsburgh, and he pitched like I believe 3 times that entire week and struck out 15 and like 7 2/3 innings. He was just lights out for that Pitt Panthers program. So as much as he's a grad guy, he's going to get taken under slot here. He has intriguing stuff. He's been up to 95. The breaking ball is impressive. Has a big hammer curveball in the low 80s. And he pitches with grit. Like that's the biggest thing. He really impressed me when we were watching him down at in Charlotte, and he deserved every bit of that all ACC tournament team that he got put on. Consiglio, if he was 6'3", he'd go a lot higher than this, but he's an intriguing guy. 6 foot 190, has a really good carry to his fastball in the low 90s, has a hammer breaking ball in the mid 70s, and good feel for a really good changeup. So might be more of a relief type for me just by size, but he pitched some pretty big innings for the Wolfpack and is an impressive guy. He got pushed to rotation this year after the injuries happened. So intriguing stuff there. Drew Whalen came from Western Kentucky, if I remember correctly, and was going to have a big piece for that Auburn Tigers rotation this year, but he had an injury. Unfortunately, had to go under the knife, but low 90s guy with some intriguing stuff to him. I think he's a solid get for the Mariners to kind of go after these guys that, they're injured. Like look at Jackson Steesma years ago. He didn't pitch at all last year, but he's in that system and has intriguing stuff. I think Whalen's the same kind of type. Chase Mora is the Brewers pick in the 9th round. I don't think he's a pitcher, if I remember correctly. He's a powerful second base type, but he's intriguing. That Texas State team can mash, and he's one of the guys that definitely had a chase. And if I remember correctly, doesn't he has like the most career home runs in Texas State program history. Am I misthinking on that one?
That would be, I am unsure on that. I would have to look that up, but you're right. He is definitely not I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's how he positioned himself. I know Arkansas back in the day, their catcher went on to be the closing pitcher for the Angels, and that's just kind of what. Yeah, he played third base. He has 42 career home runs, so that doesn't sound kind of out of the ordinary. But I just don't know.
Chase Mora actually pitched in the UTSA game on May 12th. He pitched an inning, shutout, 1 walk and 1 strikeout.
Yeah, so I can't remember the catcher's name for Arkansas. It was probably like 10, 15 years ago. He went up to pitch for the Angels, but he was the exact same way. Didn't pitch a second. They got him up to like Double-A. They were like, "Hey, you throw a ball real hard. Like, you want to throw a ball real hard for fun?" So yeah, maybe this is one where they're trying to see if they can put him at a pitcher spot. So I don't know if anyone's listening to the MLB.com as well, and maybe they can give us some information on that, because yeah, he's definitely a guy who 100 extra base hits in his career at at Texas State. So yeah, that's a bit of a surprise. Then we got.
I'm gonna try and look at some data here, see if I can find something.
Yeah, so while you're looking up, I'll take the next few. So you got Joey Urban out of Southern Miss, 6'1", righty out of Jupiter, Florida. Again, a 4-year guy. I think he came from Butler. Yeah, he came from Butler. Best season was last year, 1,000 OPS, pretty much on the dot. 36 career home runs. Went nuts versus Louisiana this year. We had a couple bombs, went 9 for 13. Love his production this year. His weighted runs created was in the 99th percentile. OPS was 91st percent. Lots of plate appearances this year. Had nearly 300 plate appearances. So he did quite a bit. He's good on the road too, near 1,200 OPS on the road. And then you have Kyler Thompson out of Texas Tech, another center fielder, back-to-back center fielders going. So this guy's probably going to be more of a glove than a bat. Career kind of 830 OPS, though last year was his best year at 945. But anytime I see an OPS sub 1,000 at Texas Tech, I'm a little cautious because the wind blows out quite a bit there. 6'1" kid out of Santa Fe, Texas, only 5 career home runs. So again, not a ton of pop. A guy that maybe his best weekend last year was probably Penn State, where he went 5 for 11. Again, ISO's 48th percentile. Hate to keep rubbing on it. So you're going to be looking at a guy who's probably going to be more of a glove than a bat. Not a lot of pop. To you guy, I think he came from JUCO, if I remember correctly. I don't know if you've got that in front of you, but I'm pretty certain he was a JUCO kid, couple of years at Texas Tech. Okay, then we can jump to the next individual. We go ahead while you're looking.
Sorry to cut you off here, but it looks like actually Thompson came from Galveston Junior College. So yep, JUCO kid.
Yeah, I thought he was a JUCO kid.
Yeah, so looking at Chase Mora, going through some of the stuff here, so that lone pitching outing that he had against UTSA in May, averaged 95.2, fastball only, doesn't throw strikes. However, this is premium arm talent on the mound, and he gets a good fastball shape out of it. So, like, maybe the Brewers have found something that, it kind of works, because obviously Mora has a ton of swing and miss. This is a power-oriented second baseman with a lot of whiff concerns. He only walked 13 times this year as well, so not really a lot to look at in terms of getting on base either. But if he's touching 95.2 on the mound as an average in that one outing, I'm interested to see what the Brewers actually do with that.
Yeah, I mean, when you're going in this position, when you're going in kind of the tail end of the 9th, early 10th, where your signing bonus isn't going to be phenomenal. I think a lot of guys are saying, "Hey, draft me." Like I'll make it work kind of thing. So that doesn't surprise me whatsoever. We've got Mekhi Negrete from Cal State Fullerton, the Titans, if I remember correctly. Are they the Titans? Yeah, I just remember the elephant. Going pick 284 to the Colorado Rockies. So this guy not on a lot of draft boards. 6'1" out of Oceanside, California. 4-year kid. Transfer from San Diego. Almost 300 career innings pitched. 260 Ks. He had a complete game versus Hawaii. Where he was a 2-hit 11K guy. I think that was late March. So he definitely has it in him. 98th percentile K per walk, 98th percentile whip, 100 innings pitched on the year. So he had a phenomenal year for the Titans, and really excited to see him going pick 285 to the White Sox. And following him, he went 284 to the Rockies. Pick 285 to the White Sox was Matthew Bucciero. Apologies, don't know if it's double C with a ch or a s. So we'll go Bucciero. I feel like Bucciero sounds more fancy. Fairfield right fielder. So 6'2" kid out of Ridgefield, Connecticut. Career 1,000 OPS, 4-year player. Best year last year. 4-year all at Fairfield, which is always lovely to see. Near 1,200 OPS last year. 54 career steals. So this is a unique guy who he's a 50-50 guy, Mr. Tyler. He's 50 career home runs, 50 career steals. So you don't really see that. 115 career extra base hits. So a guy with 99 percentile weighted run created, puts a ton of value, a lot of time. But again, based upon his location, he's probably going to be going in a money-saving opportunity. I'll let you take the next two, sir.
Yeah, and also he is Daniel's brother. He was drafted by the A's last year, went back to Fairfield. And I remember correctly, he took Cam Flukie deep in the first inning of the year. And it wasn't a cheapie either. This was like over the batter's eye in center field. And if you know Coastal's ballpark, that thing is a 25-foot wall. So to put it lightly, there's a lot of power in there. And, it's another pair of brothers that are now in different organizations, but, another pairing there.
Did I mispronounce his name as well? Did I mispronounce another well-known last name? That'd be fantastic.
I don't know. They're all I remember is they are Northeast kids, so they're tough to pronounce anyways. I'll give you leeway on that one. It's not Chalewski. I appreciate it. So to go past that, Nick Williams, an outfielder from Michigan State, goes to the Nationals. That's a 5th-year senior, going to be an underslot bonus if I had to imagine. Don't know a ton about him, but if you do, you're free to cut me off.
I'll look him up while you're going over Mr. Cole Klecker, because most people know Cole TCU transfer.
Yes, sir, they do. Came in from TCU, goes back home to Arizona State. He pitched in Omaha a couple years ago, if I remember correctly,
Yep,
as a
correct.
freshman, and he goes back home. He had a pretty solid year for them, and it's more of like your stereotypical low 90s guy with pitchability, but it's a solid guy regardless. So you take him here as a senior sign and have some fun with that. Michael Gibson from the Citadel. Citadel actually put together a solid team this year, believe it or not. They were the 3 seed in Athens, or not Athens, Georgia Tech this year. And for Gibson, another senior guy, but strikeout numbers are pretty solid. This is a guy that sits in the low 90s with good fastball carry, good shape, and good extension. Has a really, really good breaking ball, getting 10 inches of horizontal on average with good changeup. So there's something there. Going to be an intriguing guy to watch regardless. And also, field of spin is pretty good there as well. Then also Luke Rising from Northeastern going to the Angels. I had a buddy of mine. He works for Synergy. His name's Jackson, and he was talking to me about this kid. This is a guy that throws pretty hard, or should throw pretty hard in due time, has a good 4-pitch mix, has a good curveball. So I got to give shout out to Jackson on that one for getting me on him. And this is about where I expected him to go. It's like back in the top 10 rounds. So good on the Angels for getting him. This is a pretty intriguing arm. Kind of on the other side, will be a senior sign, but regardless, pretty good. Carlos Sanchez from LSU Shreveport, if I remember correctly, is that NAIA or is that D2?
Yeah, no, this is like the New York Yankees of NAI. This is the team that basically didn't lose a game for like a year and a half. I think they had the full season where they didn't lose. So yeah, he's a Venezuelan kid, utility guy. He hit nearly 400 for them. So he played on quite a team. Not a ton of pop, only 12 home runs last year. But you're talking about a guy with a really good hit tool. I mean, he can kind of play anywhere, everywhere. They pretty much played him all over the place. So this was, I think previously he was at Florida Southwestern State, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
So he's kind of been a little bit, again, like phenomenal year for him and for that program over the past few.
Yeah, and had a good showing in the draft league too. 94 OPS, 4 home runs, almost more walks and strikeouts, 18 stolen bases too. So another draft league showing that did pretty well for himself. Then going after that, Dominic Morrow from Cincinnati, a pitcher. Got to kind of dive in on him a little bit. I'm not too familiar with Cincinnati arms outside of Nathan Taylor, but
I can take him if you want me to. Just let me know.
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Yeah. So Dominic Morrow out of Cincinnati. I think if I remember correctly, I don't think he came from the portal. Where was he? No, he did. Northwood. Yeah, I was like, why am I forgetting it? Northwood. So 3-year guy, nearly 120 career innings pitched. His best was probably though when he was at Northwood. He threw, I think, 6 innings versus Thomas More. He did phenomenal there. A guy again, only 40 innings pitched in 2026, so not a ton of volume. Good K per walk numbers, good. The whip numbers is something that you probably like to see a little bit more. He's only a 6'1" kid out of Michigan. He throws righty. So again, this is probably going to be a value pick because you're talking about an older kid, 120 some odd innings. So I mean, he has production, but it's not at like the elite level. So I would expect honestly for this one to be a value pick.
Yeah, and I'm going to go back on Nick Williams too, since I kind of did find some things here. This was a former JUCO kid, Wabash Valley College out there in Illinois, and with Michigan State. Not a big power threat. He only had 6 home runs this year, and then in the draft league didn't have a ton, but really good strikeout to walk ratios. I believe has more walks and strikeouts in his career across both, Northwoods going into Appy League and doing Northwoods again as well. He did like 2 or 3 years in the Northwoods, but guy is going to be just stealing a lot of bases. This is your stereotypical like center field guy who is going to be a menace on the base paths and a pretty solid hit tool too. He doesn't miss the ball a ton. So that is the 10th rounder for the Nationals. Going past that, I'll look at Ben Ziegler-Namoa from Hawaii. I'm sure Will Mosta probably knows a lot more about him than I would. The way that Will loved that Hawaii team this year, and deservedly so. That team.
I can
really
take
good.
Tate and Nick after that if you'd like for me to.
Okay, yeah, I'll go ahead and look those two up. And Tate McKee, that's a solid pick for the Rays.
So are you going to take Ben right now, or you want me to take Ben?
If you want to talk about obviously Nick Bone and Tate McKee go for it, and I'll take Zach Peters after that.
Okay, I can take. Okay, I'll take Nick Bone and Ben Namoa. Okay, I'll take Nick to start it off since I know him, frankly, just a little bit better. So sorry, having a little bit of chicken got stuck in my throat a little bit. Actually, you know what? Let's just go Namoa. 7-1 kid out of Hawaii. 6-1, not 7-1. 7-1 would be pretty impressive. Out of Hawaii. Yeah. So it's interesting. He's listed as a first base. He's gonna play first base, but I mean, bat left, throw left. Not. He's a 4-year kid. His best season was probably in 25 when he had just above a 900 OPS, 61 career extra base hits. Went nuts against Chaminade in 25. I remember that. Honestly, like I think there's not a ton that jumps out in 2026. His OBP was not fantastic. It's more of just pop, and it's still just like 60 extra base hits over those 4 years. So he didn't have a phenomenal year this year. Pretty much, it was a drop from his previous year. So his career OPS is only around 800. Cal Poly will jump to Nick Bone. He went 294 to the St. Louis Cardinals. He's a portal kid, came from DBU. 6'1" out of Laguna Beach. Actually, he's a double portal kid. Pepperdine to DBU to Cal Poly. 4-year kid, nearly 200 innings pitched. Not a good K per walk, only like 130, 140 Ks. So more, well, not K per walk, K per 9. Not a lot of Ks when you would understand from like there's any pitch. Did really well against Southern Cal this year, where he went 3 innings with 5 Ks. So that was also really nice to see. But still, his OPS was pretty good. Only 49 innings pitched on the season. But yeah, he went 294 to the St. Louis Cardinals. I'll let you take Zach and Mason.
Yeah, and like to touch on Bone too, he touched 100 this year from like a string being framed. Like, yeah, he is a very solid relief guy. He's very funky too, so I want to touch on that there. Tate McKee, stereotypical throws you to catch a sink from Georgia Tech guy, and he was impressive at times this year. You know, he was definitely the ace of that Georgia Tech staff. He's been up to 95, but the fastball's not going to play as well as the spin does. He has like 7 different breaking balls, so he's a guy that's got a floor as a starter, but also at the same time, like it's probably a relief profile. But regardless, Tate McKee is a solid arm regardless. Zach Peters from VCU he's 23 if I remember correctly, but VCU had a couple of really good arms this year, and he came out of the bullpen against Tennessee, shut them down, and eliminated them in Chapel Hill. He's been up to 95, 96 with really good cut right shape, has a good breaking ball. He has 2 different breaking balls. I think it's a top-down curveball and a decent slider. So I want to touch on him, but he's a solid get for the Miami Marlins there. Mason Steele from UAB. UAB put together a pretty solid campaign, if I remember correctly, and they've got some good bats, but Steele was a really solid arm for them. Intriguing fastball shape, like a 16 and 3 essentially. He gets really good extension, so you're looking at extension traits on the fastball, and he sat 92.5, but also really, really good slider. He threw that as the secondary with some good sweeping traits to it. Spins the ball well in the mid-80s, so looking at a guy, he pitched 75 some odd innings, I think, for UAB, so that's a solid get for them. Evan Morrison from Grand Valley State, that's a D2 school. He is from Ontario, I believe Wheatley, Ontario. So
PVSU, Grand Valley?
Yes, sir.
I think they're D1. Am I going crazy?
I think they're D2.
Oh.
I could be wrong. It could be wrong. I don't know.
You're a smart guy. I trust you.
I don't know if I'm that smart, but like
I think am I thinking of UTRGV, Texas, Rio Grande?
Yeah. But yeah, Evan Morrison hit 402 this year. 402, not a ton of power production, but he can hit only 9 strikeouts on the year. I understand it's D2 baseball, but 28 to 9 K to walk to strikeout ratio, 27 stolen bases. So this is a guy that's going to be really speedy, really quick, gets on base for the Rangers. Ian Korn, a pretty solid West Virginia guy. If I remember correctly, he's one of the guys. D2, they love their D2 guys. He lefty with good stuff. Was he the one out of the bullpen, or am I thinking of another guy?
Yeah, no. Korn was basically like they had a Yale Korn combo. Whereas basically, like as soon as Corn came in, it kind of felt like the game was over. He struggled a little bit in the supers, or I guess it was the regionals. Regionals was Kentucky, and then versus Cal Poly, he didn't really pitch, but he had a phenomenal first game versus Troy,
Hmm.
because Chance and Cole came out pretty quickly, and he pitched I think like six and a third, somewhere in that. So no, like again. Same thing with Dawson Montesa, and actually Owen Henney, who we talked about from Seton Hill, that was also a West Virginia commit. So he was in the portal, going to be going to West Virginia. He just won't be getting there. So yeah, no, they love their they love their D2 pitchers there in West Virginia, and then you've got Grant Fontenot. Grant Fontenot going 299 to Kansas City again. Like another, I think Kansas City's maybe putting together really good. Every time
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that's a good pick. I keep looking to the left. I'm like, oh, that's Kansas City. He's a
Yeah.
guy that came in with a ton of expectations. I think it's just kind of hard at LSU because it feels like every other year they're bringing in a guy like Hood or Jansen or all of these like portal pitchers that kind of like come in and they do so well. I mean, like even Sheeran, who went like the fourth round this year. I mean, he came from Northwestern State, if I remember correctly. So they bring in all of these pitchers that sometimes you just kind of get lost. I think this is a kid that could be a really good projection later in the year. Just doesn't really had the production. It's projection over production in this instance, because really there is a lot of projectability potentially in that
Yeah.
arm.
Absolutely, and to kind of go on the train of hard throwing guys with good fastballs, I know Fontenot's one of them. Nate Eisler from Dartmouth is the Mets pick at 300, and when you're looking at Eisler, it's a pretty solid fastball, gets 20 inches of IVB with some cut to it, averages 92. Good extension. He's primarily fastballs, so throwing it 60% of the time, but good breaking balls to go with it. Like there's a solid shape difference. Like the sliders. More of a bullet, but the curveball gets a lot more depth to it. So he's an interesting arm for the Mets to kind of go after and to kind of go down the board here. Tazewell Butler, Kansas State kid, fifth-year senior, going to get underslot for sure to kind of help the Astros sign like Bo Peterson. And there's another guy that they had in their draft that was really good. Keon Johnson, I think, was the name.
Yeah.
So they're going to get him probably underslot to save some money there. Connor Griffin from Binghamton. Talked about Binghamton earlier where they lost Will Plunkett, but Connor Griffin throws very hard. He touched 100 at the beginning of the year when they faced DBU, and he's more of a release type for me personally. Throws hard, doesn't have much command of the zone, but good breaking stuff. I think he's going to be a guy that goes into the bullpen, finds his command, and figures it out. I think he's a good kid. Ryan Bilka from Miami comes from Richmond, senior guy. Didn't really see him pitch a ton this year, but pretty solid stuff. Has a good fastball. I think that was really what his big stuff was this year. And then here's a big one for the Red Sox. Again, back-to-back rounds where they get a pretty solid guy on our board. Caleb Lefebvre from Bishop Keelan in Iowa. He is 6'7", 195 pounds. Iowa gets a late start to the year, obviously, so they were pitching in the playoffs pretty late, but they have like a spring league that they do. Lefebvre was up to 95, 96. Good fastball shape. He's still trying to work out his mechanics. He's 6'7", 195, and obviously that type is really hard to really rein in your mechanics and your limbs. But throws strikes at a pretty decent clip. I think there's some more stuff you can kind of get out of him. Super projectable, good sweeping slider, and a good chance to go with it. So he's a solid get for the Red Sox. Another guy that I would expect to get a lot more money than the 194 flat that the value pick is there. Augie Lopez, who, if I remember correctly, in the portal from USC, did well in the super regional against UNC, which he was playing all over the place, if I remember correctly. If not, it was the other Lopez that was in that lineup, but he's a solid power guy as well. And then Jack Turner, a pitcher from New Mexico State, which the Fighting Nick Gonzalez is, that's another senior side. I got to find some more stuff on him, so I'll let you talk about some of the guys that just came through the board while I figure some stuff out here.
No, you just knocked it out of the park. I was just going to mention Augie Lopez. Yeah, he's in the portal. He's one of those guys. Oh, they had Southern Cal had two catchers going to the portal, and for some reason, the other one is escaping my memory currently. But this was another guy that I was reaching out to coaches and saying like, hey, like. If you're looking for a catcher, Augie Lopez is still, and just know reference to him whatsoever. So I think it was kind of always seen that he would maybe go, but I am surprised to see him going in the 10th round. So I almost feel like he could make more in college, as crazy as that is to sound. It just really depends because net we're in pick what he went 305.
Mhm.
305 has a slot value of 193. He has 2 years left now with the 5-5. He could make more than that in college in 2 years, but we'll see what he does. And we got Jack Turner, as you already mentioned. So Luke Allwood going from Seattle, the University of Seattle, is now going to be going to Chicago. And then we've got Byram Hot. I know he's the third baseman for, of course, they label him as a shortstop here, as they label everyone for shortstop. I can never remember how to pronounce his last name. Again, my deepest apologies. It's not on purpose. He'll be going pick 308 to the New York Yankees. So I'll talk about Luke here first if you want to talk about Byram a little bit afterwards.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
Luke, he's a 6'4" kid, another Hawaii kid, 6'4" out of Seattle, spent all 4 years at Seattle, 4-year kid, 160 plus innings pitched. His best game was probably last year versus Tarleton. One thing to look out for, he does get hit pretty hard. His OPS allowed in 2026, he only pitched 43 innings, was a 43rd percentile. So that means guys are getting like above like a 900 OPS against him, which isn't phenomenal. Sierra's in the 85th, so that's something you do like to see. But what you don't really enjoy seeing is the fact that he's like 69th percentile and like whip and a few other like of those. Hey, you just kind of let guys get on base, and also the K. The K numbers are lower than the inning numbers, so you're not going to really have an overpowering pitcher. But excited for him. He will be going to the Cubs at pick 307.
Yep, absolutely. And then Bayram Hot kind of working off that. Another senior guy, but this is a guy that he hit very, very well this year at Louisville. I think at one point had a 400 average kind of going into the Duke series. And the biggest thing with him, like there's some sneaky pop in the profile, but I think at the end of the day, you're kind of going after the hit tool as well. Like across 4 years in college, like this is a kid that came from, if I remember correctly, he was from Marist. It went from Marist to Louisville. He hit 326 last year. Didn't have a ton of production outside of that, but this year had a better year. 976 OPS, 9 home runs. The strikeouts were a little bit concerning, but he drew walks at a pretty good amount as well. This is a guy that you kind of look at it, you get just like, hey, we'll take this, give you something to go for. Again, also looking like just a senior sign here. But now we got two intriguing picks outside of the Yankees pick here with Bayram Hot. Reese Moroney from Rhode Island was a guy that, again, Brian Reck had put me on him last fall. And the biggest thing with Moroney is he didn't have a lot of pop a year ago, but he kind of changed that to where he's starting to hit the ball more. He's going for the gaps. There's speed there. There's a really, really good glove. So that's a good signing for the Phillies, kind of staying close to home with the Rhode Island kid. So Jared is, again, happy on that one. But this is a solid get for the Phillies at this range. Eric Gian going to Stanford. This is their second baseman who, there's some swing and miss there, but there's some intriguing power traits like right-handed hitter who knows how to pull the ball in the air very well. The EVs aren't going to stand out at you, but the field to pull the baseball and launch is pretty impressive. And you take that with a guy like this. And then I believe Andrew Gaines coming in for St. Joseph's, who not the St. Joseph's arm I thought would go at that position because what's the former Rutgers kid that went to Arizona, I think it was Coppola, went back to St. Joseph's, had a phenomenal year for those guys. So Andrew Gaines going to the Brewers at 311. I will look him up just to have more of a resource to go off of on that one. But to touch back on another guy I missed too.
I can take Andrew if you want. He's from Pitt. You were right.
Okay. Yeah. Can I touch on Tazewell Butler first before we do that, just to get it out
there?
Yeah,
no, please do. I was just trying to help out.
Yeah, I appreciate it, first off. But yeah, Tazewell Butler, another guy that has good fastball, 6.5 foot of extension. The shape's kind of middling, but again, it's enough to where you got enough extension in fastball velo. I think it's going to be solid there. So I will let you go ahead and take Andrew Gaines before we end the top 10 rounds here.
Yeah. So, man, we're literally just finished as we were talking, but we'll finish it up. Andrew Gaines, yeah. So he was he was a 4-year guy, went from Iona to Pitt to St. Joe's, So a lot of Ks, over 100 Ks, and about 70 innings pitched. So you really do like to see that. Best game was probably versus George Washington, where you got 4 Ks and 3 innings pitched. Canes Heat is really excited to see all 10 innings or all 10 rounds done. Probably excited because he's thinking, okay, maybe my guys made it through. 97th percentile Sierra, 95th percentile FIP. So again, like there's some things you really like to see. Big kid, 6'5". Then you got Bryce Chance. So Bryce Chance, like sometimes it felt like what player was going to be the odd man out for Mississippi State sometimes in this lineup, and I was he was never a guy that had, he's a tinier guy. Do you have his height in there? I want to say he was like 5'8", 5'9". I can't remember, but he's
He
one of those guys. He looks a little diminutive when he gets up in the box, but he'll still run one out every now and again. I want to say it was either the regionals or the super regionals versus Georgia, where he had back. I think he had 5 RBIs or something in the first couple of innings. So he can really put together a couple of really nice swings for you. So excited for him, to be drafted in the top 10 rounds where he's got like that slot bonus. And lastly, another pitcher for Oregon, Devin
mhm.
Bell, going pick 313 to the Los Angeles Dodgers. So is that now 3 pitchers? So I know they've got Scolari. You have Bell, and they had Gaz. I can't remember if they had any more Gostola. So I don't know
Yeah.
if they've had any more. But really, you look at it. You have Florida State and Oregon and Georgia. Just a lot of pitching rotations are going to be quite a bit more shallow next year than they are this year. So you're talking about a guy 7'4" out of LeGrand, Oregon. He actually transferred from Western Oregon. So another one of those really interesting stories where a kid D2, D3 jumps up to the D1 level and really provides 160 plus career innings pitched, provides a lot of value. He's done a lot. You love the FIP. He gets guys out, but again, only 37 innings on the season, so he's going to be more of a primary bullpen guy, I assume. That's where he's going to be starting out in the minors. But again, he is a big guy, so you never know. In that 6'4" frame, maybe they can project into a potential starter at some point. And
Yeah.
I think that's the end
And
of our 10 rounds. What are your thoughts, sir?
yeah, to kind of finish up on like Devin Bell for you. This guy also throws really, really hard. I think he had 12 saves for Oregon this year too.
Yeah.
So he was kind of like their main closer, but averaged 94.5 with the fastball, kind of like that zony shape, but the velo works for that. Changeup plays really well. Has a bullet slider go with it as well. And like Oregon had a ton of good guys too. Like Tanner Bradley made the USA team this year for collegiate. And when I tell you that's a 70 grade changeup, I'm not even joking. That is a it's a left-handed breaking ball from a right-handed pitcher. It's if you're looking for a guy to like next year, that's a guy to like. So I believe we get an hour break here in between round 10 and round 11. So I think it's probably best that we kind of finish up here and probably call it. But top 10 top 10 rounds are over. Tyler, learn your English. Yeah, impressions for me is like, obviously we look at some of these intriguing guys, but there are some big swings towards the end of the draft I like, especially from Boston. Boston did a really good job there to try and get most value out of their draft strategy. So I think when you look at it from yesterday, you had some question marks. I think there's a reason why we go for this now. So good on Boston for putting something good together. And then obviously, I think the biggest storylines, I think Archer Horn is now, all but confirmed going to the school at this point. I haven't seen anything like official from his Twitter or anything that says he's going, but safe assumption to make after, top 10 rounds are over, he's not been selected.
Yeah, I mean, they could still try to make a lunge at 11, because that's what you used to see when 11 was that day 3, and it was kind of like, all
Mm-hmm.
right, well, we've saved our money, now we'll launch it around 11. And I know that they've got an army of individuals that are crunching the numbers to see how much like theoretical money that they have left over, and so they're probably going to try to launch the remainder at that and in that round 11. But you never know. So again, tons of 4-year kids, 252 of the 313 that went in 4-year. That's the highest in the last 5 years. Only one, let me see, you want to make sure, 60 high school kids, which is about on par. 2022 had 53, so that was a little bit less. You had a lot of JUCO or a lot of portal players go in. And then let's see, top players still on the board that I have. I don't know if so. You've got Horn and Clark, who's already said he's going. Bowen said he was going to be going to Oregon State. Contreras
Mhm.
is still there for Vandy. You've got Vandy. If there's a team that's like maybe winning the draft right now, it may be Vanderbilt. They've got 4 guys in the top 100. You've got Contreras, Wilson, Holloway, and Tronstein.
Yeah.
All 4 look like they're potentially going to be making it to campus. So excited for them. I think honestly that's the way for them to go. I was talking with some Vanderbilt individuals, and it's hard for them to recruit via the portal just because of the education limitations that they have, like the ability for people to bring over credits. So I was always like, well, if they put their resources towards high school, I bet like they could try to turn into a UCLA where you get like a Chalusky type draft class, high school draft class, and bring them all in, and then and go to back kind of like phenomenal seasons. So excited for Vanderbilt.
Yeah, I agree with that. And this is a team that obviously saw their postseason streak end this year, which that thing was just about ready to be at drinking age. So I think good streaks come to an end, but I think Vanderbilt's doing a good job of retooling. We talk about those guys. Some guys that also have not heard their name called yet. Dom Santarelli, I think he's going to go to LSU at this point. Cole
I think he already
Kenninger.
said he was, if I remember correctly. Yeah.
Okay, so that doesn't surprise me then. Cole Kenninger probably going to end up Tennessee, two-way guy who can pitch. Colin Ritchie hasn't had his name called yet, and neither has Gavin
Wild.
Gallagher, which kind of surprises me a little bit. Ritchie was such a good power bat this year, and Gallagher is just an all-around good player. Jake McCoy has not heard his name called, but I think he's bound for Tennessee once he recovers from TJ. Will Adams, Hoover, Alabama kid that's committed to LSU. That's a sneaky good power bat that I'm kind of surprised is still on the board here. Eaton Bass has not been taken. Cooper Size is probably going to go to LSU. Jake Carabaugh,
Anthony Murphy.
Yeah, Malachi Washington. LSU is going to get a good haul of guys here, but I think it does create kind of like a roster jam at some point.
How much money does LSU have? That's what I want to know. I mean, my God, this is a phenomenal high school class that they're bringing in. It's probably going to be 6. I don't know where they're ranked perfect game, but it's probably 6 perfect game top 100 guys that they're going to be bringing in is what it looks like.
I think Vanderbilt was one on
silly.
there.
It's silly.
Yeah.
I mean, Vanderbilt may be one, but my assumption is LSU is going to be one after this because I think Vandy's going to bring in 4 or 5. I think it's 4. And it looks like LSU is going to be bringing in 6.
Yeah, it's ridiculous what LSU is able to do. And like, it's a credit to what Jay's been able to do there. There's a lot of stuff that they've worked on. And this past year obviously wasn't the greatest when they missed a tournament after winning the national title. But yeah, this is going to be a haul for them. And that's exciting for them. I think, there's going to be like a roster crunch at some point to kind of worry about. But I think having too much is a good thing, especially in an era of portal, NIL, and everything like that.
I mean, they're bringing in 3 outfielders in Washington, Santarelli, and Murphy. And I mean, you look at their outfield. Their outfield is all completely from the portal right now. You've got Walks and Laya and Waters. So I don't really see a lot of ABs for those guys. So it's pretty interesting. It almost reminds me of who's the guy that went to Penn State after his freshman year, had a pretty phenomenal.
Paxton
Kling. Where, I mean, I'm not saying like they'll portal, but it just feels like maybe they won't get the opportunities they want, but we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's just the way that recruiting is now, and just the way that the portal is kind of takes center stage. So biggest thing right now, obviously we're going to see more in about an hour or so when it comes to the draft. I think there's still some splashes to make in the 11th round. So we'll see what happens. But I think for us, we're going to go ahead and we're going to call it, because admittedly, I don't know if we can sit here for an hour and talk draft without like going insanely crazy.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think it's a good time for us to take a little bit of a break, come back refreshed, rejuvenated, because really at this point, with the fact that, I mean, if you just look at like their bonus pools, like I don't even know how many teams have a ton available. Maybe maybe the Diamondbacks still, the Diamondbacks and the Astros, just looking over their class, and maybe the Royals, Jared,
Mhm.
maybe. But other than that, like, yeah, if I were looking for one of those LSU or Vandy, LSU, if I was a Diamondback, I would be calling an LSU agent right now, LSU kids agent, and be like, "Hey, we'll give you 800 to come here. You may get like a little bit of a haircut on it, but you'll probably get maybe a potentially good player. But whoever knows."
Yeah, absolutely. So, but yeah, we're gonna go in and call it here. If we come back, awesome. I might just kind of sit around and watch what happens the rest of the day and catch up and get a draft recap out. So,
I'd be
um,
fine with that, man. This was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it.
yeah, this was a ton of fun, and thank you to everybody that's joined us today as well. Obviously, Kane, Spencer, Uncle Mike or Uncle Ted, I think is his name. All the guys that have been commenting, and it's been a lot of fun. And this year, I'm kind of glad that the cycle's over. Next week, going to be back on the 2027 grind and have some fun with that. But it's definitely been a tougher year for everybody on our side. So it's time to hit the refresh button and can have some fun. So thank you again to everybody that's joined us. Cannot thank you guys enough for the support throughout the year, both for me, Jared, Will, Mark, everybody with the Just Baseball crew, and then obviously with Jason and what he does at 64 Analytics. Like, fantastic job year in and year out from you, dude.
Always love it. Tyler, you're the best. You know draft better than anyone I know. So it was a real pleasure to hear you rattle off names like they were your brothers and sisters and just all of the information that you know. So the draft is a lot of fun. I think we've gotten our 10 down. And again, we're past the 99%. So now it's just kind of a crapshoot. So you're still crossing all your fingers and your toes, but I think with the value of NIL now, if you're looking at that top 100 portal kid that you've got on your team, I think you're feeling a lot better about it now.
Agreed with that 100%. So, but yeah, we'll see what happens in the 11th round. But for everybody here at Just Baseball, thank you guys for joining us. For Jason, for Jared, for everybody involved, thank you for joining. If we come back in an hour, perfect. We'll continue talking ball with you guys. But if not, I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the draft. Enjoy the rest of All-Star Week. It's going to be a fantastic week up here in Philly. So, thank you again for everything that you guys have provided to us. And until next time, we'll see you guys later.
Peace.